Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome your host of the weekly Warcry podcast, Norgoz. Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to the weekly Warcry podcast. I am your host, Norgoz, and I am joined by some awesome individuals. We got a great show in store for you tonight, and we have some awesome things to talk about. So, first and foremost, what are our topics this evening? We're going to be talking about becoming unbreakable. That's becoming unbreakable, armoring yourself against toxicity. Unlocked attacks, GG no re. And what do we mean? We mean, what? No best 2 out of 3? What? We're going to talk about a little bit about the Warriors Den recap, and we're going to talk about the new hero, Jormungandr, and what we think after getting our hands on first to the new hero. First and foremost, though, guys, thank you so much to the community for accepting us and coming out every week, every Friday that you do. We've got a great show in store for tonight. I have my guests that I will show in just a moment. Before we get to that, though, I want to remind you guys, of course, that, of course, the Warcry podcast, our purpose is we are dedicated to meaningful discussion regarding community-driven topics to bring you guys experiences and insight that you may not get elsewhere in order to ultimately help show you a big picture perspective, help you think outside the box, and show you the way to coming back together as a strong community as we are. We all love this community, and we have a great amount of individuals in here, from streamers to players, content creators all over the board. And, of course, the development team is a part of that, and we appreciate each and every one of you. Go ahead and unmute your mics to my guests. I will be showing you guys here right now. My 3 guests are none other, and you guys know them. We have TopRamanShaman, the most elevated Shigoki in the business. He's a badass motherfucker, all right? We've got the Fatal-Feit. He's... with his beautiful face. His knowledge is only the fuck was it supposed to be again? His knowledge is only beaten by the how good his hair is. Yes, that's I completely screwed that up. I don't remember what it was supposed to be, but it's close enough. All right, so Fatal-Feit, competitive player, a renowned tester, For Honor. He's got all the behind the scenes knowledge that we may or may not have, and he's willing to share a little bit with us. A little bit. We've got Real Carolus Rex. This is a face reveal from my man. This is a face reveal from Mr. Carolus Rex. How do you feel about showing your face for the first time on the Twitch scene?
Well, I was warned that my face might violate TOS, but after seeing that beard on your face, I thought I'd probably be okay.
Wow, he's got jokes tonight. He came packed, my man. Okay, all right. Well, you see, you're almost a ginger. You almost got there, but then we rejected you and said you can't be one. So we had to. That's what happened. That's why your hair is brown and not red.
Even rejected by the gingers. Wow. Wow.
That's low.
That's all I had on short notice. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, you know what I should have said? I just been like, at least I can grow a beard. That's what I should have said. But because you, I know you.
That's now we're going places that we're just going way over the top of the insults now, Norgoz.
Okay.
Let's see. Where's the unfollow button? Oh, it's up.
Wow. Wow. He's serious too, by the way, guys. But guys, thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate it. And I want to give a short thing to Raman. He's a great, positive individual. He streams on Twitch throughout the week. You can definitely find him on his channel. His Twitch is right there next to him. Fatal-Feit, he has footage on YouTube that you can check out of some 1v1s and stuff. He's actually got a lot of stuff from the very beginning of For Honor as well, if you wanted to go back and see what For Honor used to look like. We also have Carolus Rex, a new Twitch streamer to the directory, newer to the directory. He's been around, though. You guys know him. You guys love him. He's also got he's got a great personality, and that's why I brought him on tonight. He's got a great personality, and I want to hear what his thoughts, as well as the rest of you guys, are on our topic. So let's get down to it, and I also need to turn this on. All right, so that's new. All right, guys, here we go. First and foremost, we were going to be talking about becoming unbreakable. Now, let's put some context into this. Now, we all have bad days, and toxicity is always going to be in every game that breeds competition. From For Honor to, hang on, I'm going to say this. From For Honor to Fortnite. Oh God. Okay, I got it out. I said it. Oh God. Okay, I said it. Oh, I don't ever have to say that word ever again. Okay, now that we've done with that, down to to Quake 3 Arena, to Street Fighter, to Tekken 7 and all that good stuff. You know what I'm saying? That's okay. I'm sorry. I'm still reeling from having to say. Oh, okay. I'm just thinking about it's making me sick. Okay. I'm so sorry. All right. So moving forward. Let's talk about how to armor yourself against these situations. Because first, let's establish a few baseline thoughts to keep in mind. Now, these are things that I wanted to mention in past shows that I keep failing to throw out there, and that is that while I do not condone toxicity. I 100% do not condone toxicity. I do condemn toxicity, but there are cases where people, there's cases where people will, to come home from work or school, or if that's just whatever their life is, they get on game to blow off steam, and that's how they blow off steam. They get toxic, they do their things, they say and do inappropriate things, and while I do condemn it, if it prevents somebody from, if somebody has any type of issues or aggression issues, and if that's how they blow off steam and it prevents them from transforming that aggression into acts of violence, then hey, that's better than transforming those thoughts into acts of physical violence. So I understand there are cases like that, and I think that that's some things that some people may not think of. That some people have some things that they got to deal with, and that's how they deal with them. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, I still condemn it. I just still condemn toxicity, but those situations, if you're preventing a murder, I think I'm gonna be okay with a little bit. You know what I'm saying? So my first question, and this is gonna go to K. Rolus Rex. I'm gonna ask you. So while turning off chat eliminates words, and we all know words can't really hurt us, it doesn't change how fight tactics or toxic emote spam can happen. And even while words can't hurt us, it is something that still can get under your skin. What are some examples of how you of how you handle toxicity? And you can use examples that you might have dealt with yourself, or more common ones. What are your thoughts?
Well, Norgoz, I think that's a good question. I think when it comes to dealing with toxicity, and I think first and foremost, it has to be said that can be somewhat of a subjective question, simply because we all have different personalities. We're all going to respond to toxicity or salt in different ways. But I think how I've learned to deal with it is that, let me first phrase it this way. Why would I be upset or toxic at someone for talking crap at me in chat or something like that? And generally it's because I got beat. I got beat in a 4-stack. I got beat in a duel. I got outplayed. I got outgamered. And then some people will talk a little bit salt in that regard. That's most of the times when I'm tempted to interact with people in that regard, right? So what I find helps me is it would be very arrogant for me to assume that I have got this game mastered. I've got it figured out. Anyone who has fought alongside me or fought against me know that I press buttons and I just kind of hope for the best. So I definitely haven't got this thing figured out by any stretch of the imagination. But
No one's
what really
perfect.
what really helps me when it comes to, and I can think of a specific example. This happened the other day. I was playing against a player that I have a lot of respect for. Very, very good player. And after the match was over, got totally crushed, by the way, got completely obliterated. And after the game was over, I put in chat, GG's, well played. And the response was, why are you GGing me? You suck. And in that moment, that was a little bit hurtful. That was a little bit frustrating. But in that moment, I decided, you know what, this person is not technically wrong. In context, against him, I sucked. I think I went like 2-6 or something like that. It was pretty bad. And so I simply responded, well, the reason I put GG's is that I respect you as a player. I've got things to learn from you. And here's the thing, that shut down any further response. So from my perspective, and I'm typically a pretty passive guy. I'm not someone who really enjoys conflict. Mm-hmm. So from my perspective, by acknowledging the reality that I still have something to learn, and obviously not responding like, yes, I suck, but just acknowledging the reality of the aspect of truth of what he said, and realizing that I do have quite a bit to learn and a long way to go. It kind of helps nullify the situation and helps it from spiraling out of control. And then again, I'm hoping that, there can still be some sort of relationship. If I had just gone off into a toxic or salty rant, there could have been a bridge that was burned there. So the hope is that that by responding in a positive manner, that you can nullify any further toxicity and salt and open up opportunities to continue to learn how to be competitive and to get better at the game. That's kind of my take on it.
Wow. The knowledge was just dropped. If you had a microphone, if you could detach that microphone from your headset, you would have just ripped it off and dropped it right there, and that would have been perfectly appropriate. That was going to be kind of hard to follow. I want to throw some thoughts in there on that real quick before I move forward. Is that so? With your situation, your thought process is, try to avoid the conflict. Acknowledge what's true. Try to de-escalate the situation as best that you can. And acknowledge what, if somebody's being toxic because of, something that you're doing that may be considered an exploit or may be considered bad, just like, poor skill. I mean, as an example, it's a couple different examples. Then, maybe take back from that if they're being toxic in reacting to that. Maybe take something back from that and acknowledge, hey, maybe I could do something a little bit different to change my play style. Is that kind of what you're getting at? That's the gist of it? Does that sound about right?
Yeah, I mean, I just look at it as trying to be kind, because here's the thing, and I think this is something that, this discussion has broader applications than just video games. The reality is, and I think maybe this is kind of what you're getting to, Norgoz, the question behind the question is that we deal with toxicity in every aspect of our lives, not just in video games. Now, it's easier online because we don't actually have to physically interact with the person. But the reality is that we deal with frustrated and toxic people every single day. Anytime there's a community where there's other human beings, there's going to be toxicity. If we can find ways to deal with it, maybe passive is not the best term, but like you said, de-escalate the situation, try to maintain relationships, look for opportunities to learn, and try to see the best in other people. That can help meld the community a little bit closer together.
I'm going to have to shut this fucking show down. I don't think I can sit here and listen to these freaking drops of knowledge in the hat like this all night. I think we're done. I don't think I can deal with this shit. That's too much, man. Bring it. Holy crap, man. You are freaking bringing the fire tonight. Bringing the community together. Oh my goodness. Okay. All right. Moving forward. All right. No, all seriousness. That was very well said. That last part about bringing the community together and try to see the best in people. I respect that. I respect that a lot. It is sometimes hard, and that's why I say, there's always going to be something behind the scenes. Maybe somebody had a bad day, you know what I'm saying? Yada, yada. But in the moment, sure, in the moment, you're not going to see those things. You're not going to think about those things because all you see is the toxicity. All you're seeing is the first impression, right?
Sure.
But I like your thought process on that. I like where your head's at. TopRamanShaman, I'm going to follow up with you. I'm going to reiterate the question here. So again, while turning off chat eliminates words, and we all know words can't hurt us, it doesn't change the fact that the words are still said. And it doesn't change the fact that fight tactics or toxic emote spam can still happen. So what are some examples of how you handle toxicity in your day-to-day?
To me, bro, it's mostly just all about adaptability. For me, it's you already know toxicity is around the corner at any match, any moment, so at that point, like you said, things, and I don't know, I have a different perspective in terms of, like, I just tend to not let any salt get to me at all. I tend to just kind of laugh it off. There have been times where I've gotten a little salty over something, like I wanted to rematch someone, and like Rex said, how he said the guy said he sucked or whatever after, not winning. I've been salty over stuff like that, over wanting to get a rematch in because you just want to beat that person so bad, and then they just dip. So I mean, it's everyone has their salty moments, but overall, it's just kind of keeping in perspective that we're all playing a game, and even though, like you said, real life can bleed into games. You have a stressful day, you go on, you start losing matches, and it escalates from there. You start getting madder and madder and madder until you blow up at the one person that didn't deserve to get trolled on, roasted, whatever you want to call it. But that's really all it's about for me, is just adaptability. Learn to deal with the harshness of reality out there, that there's a lot of angry people in the world, that a lot of people are going to call you out for something. And for me, playing Shigoki, a lot of people are going to try and talk crap on my character,
Mm-hmm.
say that I'm cheap, say that I'm garbage,
Uh,
that I'm only winning because I play Shigoki. But
do you
at
really
that
get that a
point,
lot?
oh, bro, I get that. I get that all the time. All the time. People still hate Shigoki for some reason. I
Why?
couldn't tell you why.
That's insane. I don't
I have
understand
no
it.
idea. I have no idea.
All right. Okay, so your stance on it is basically, screw the haters. If they want to hate, they can hate. They can do it on their time, not on yours. It's not going to fuck up your plans.
Basically.
I like that. I like that a lot, man. So you just kind of you just decide, you know what, we're gonna ignore it. We're gonna move on. Just kind of smile it, kill them with kindness, move on. All right, I dig
Find
that.
humor in it.
And yeah, find humor in it. There you go. There you go. There you go. And of course, I think it's important to remind the audience that it's not lost on us that as entertainers, as content creators, there are going to be opportunities for us to meme or make fun of or mock those types of situations when toxicity comes up. And there are going to be times where content creators definitely do that. And there are going to be times where a creator will say something that is in the sense of entertainment that's not meant as a personal attack on those individual players either. That's something that you'll if you come to my streams where I do it. I know you see me. Sometimes I do get a little tilted and I'll say things, but it's mostly in the sense of I'm trying to bring entertainment to you guys. I'm an entertainer first and foremost. Whenever somebody asks to 1v1 me or play with me, the first thing I say is, number one, guys, I am an entertainer first and foremost. If you're looking for somebody just because you want someone to play with, I'm probably not that guy. Although I will play with you, it's something that if you just want someone to play with, you want to probably find somebody else, because my content's here for entertainment first and foremost. I'm not the best player in the world, but I'm here to have a good time. So, moving on from that, I want to get your thoughts on this, Fatal. I know it's a really broad stroke, so to speak, but you being in the competitive scene, I know that you probably deal with toxicity in a different type of level. I know the competitive scene gets a really bad rep for being toxic, and I've had you on, and I've had Linen Cat on, and I hope that that's helped to change the to use Ubisoft's terminology here, the full population's perspective of competitive scenes, because there's not a ton of there's probably not as much toxicity as people seem to think that there is in competitive, but there definitely is, but I think it's a little bit on a different kind of scale. You're fighting with each other back and forth, and you like kind of like what you and Linen Cat have said. It's in some ways it's a sense of respect if they're trash talking you, because they know they can say that and you can say the same thing back, and nobody's going to get kind of butthurt over it. So that was a long thought process. So Fatal, what are your thoughts on how you deal with toxicity in your day to day?
Well, first, I think Rex and Shaman are pretty on point with what they're saying, which is, take it in stride. It's at the end of the day, it's still just a video game, and everyone's just trying to have fun. So if you can keep someone from ruining your fun because they're saying some words, then you should be good for the day. But as you're saying, I'm sort of on a different playing field with toxicity in some ways, and I think the best way to like sort of explain it to someone is to like get rid of your ego, because there is absolutely no level you could be at the top peak of any community, any gaming community whatsoever, for a shooter like Halo or Siege or For Honor, anything like that, right? You could be the best Smash player, and you're always going to deal with toxicity. But you have to understand that, like, even at the top level, you're not going to deal with the same toxicity as lower level. If someone's calling you names or someone's saying you suck or something like that, they're probably just trash players as well. They're probably just casuals. You don't have to pay them any mind. It's what I tell people, right? Like, if someone's typing in a chat saying this hero's broken, screw you, or something like that, you don't have to really care. Like, I've stopped caring, because they're probably a terrible player or just a casual who I like to call them no names, right? Which sounds really egotistical, but I call these players no names. They have absolutely no impact on the game. They're nobody in existence in this game whatsoever. So it shouldn't bother me. It shouldn't bother you guys. It shouldn't bother anyone.
Right.
Just go, take it in stride and just have some fun with it. You can troll back or just be as toxic but these kind of people, you're not going to match up with them again, or maybe you will, but they probably won't care, right? You guys will just be kind of chill next time or something. And like I said, they're probably not as good as the players who actually do matter. The players who do matter, they're not going to waste their time being toxic, because I've been in a lot of gaming communities, I've been in a lot of competitive communities, even Dark Souls, right? Like, Dark Souls is known for having toxic players, but like the people at the top levels, they don't care to be toxic. They're not the ones who's gonna go into chat and say you suck, right? Why are you dealing with this, right? They're gonna troll a little bit, but they're not the ones who talk. So the players who talk are generally the players who don't matter. Um, and even if they talk, it's a lot of it is, as we are saying, it's sort of like a endearment at the end of the day. Like when I talk about with Lennon, when you see a tournament, 4v4 tournament going on For Honor, you see these guys talking trash a little bit, right? But we know that's endearment, because at the end of the day, like when you're with the players who matter, we understand that we need to stay together. We need to keep ourselves feeling good, and not wanting to throw anyone out of competitive. We just want to keep it a nice scene where everyone gets each other. And there's days where someone's frustrated or something, they'll say something, but we're all people playing a video game. Nobody's trying to destroy your experience, or anything like that. So,
And if they are, then they need to just uninstall the fucking game. But
yeah,
because
yeah,
there are
are,
people out there
they'll
that are
uninstall.
like that. But yeah.
Yeah, but like you're really probably never gonna meet someone who's actually like that, whose opinion actually matters. Because anyone whose opinions matters are not the kind of toxic players you think you're gonna meet. Like I say, I'm repeating myself here, but like 99% of the time, the players who are really talking trash, trying to bring you down for the hero you play, or because you're just upset at a game, they don't matter. You're not, you don't have to care about their opinions. That's what I have to say on that.
Good. All right. So yeah. So they don't matter. I like that. I like that part. So, the people that you encounter in games, and if they're toxic towards you, if you don't like what's going on, they really don't matter to you, or they shouldn't matter to you. If they matter to you, that's when you're starting to let them in. You're starting to kind of let them win. That's where the mentality. That's where the mental fortitude and the thick skin comes into play. And sometimes it can be hard. It can be really hard. But you got to think about it. If somebody comes into my game and they start talking about like, oh, streamer, how many viewers do you have? Or, oh my God, we're live, guys. People are doing that just because they want to mock that. But that's bait. That's bait. That's why I always tell people, until they come into chat, kind of to take a little snippet from Mr. Kyle here for a moment. They're not people until they come into my chat. They're not until they come into my chat, it's all pure entertainment. When they come into my chat, that's when it's personal. That's when we'll address it in a different way. So if they're being toxic when they come into chat, sorry,
that's that extra step.
Yeah, that's that extra. You want to be extra like that. You know what I'm saying? We'll get you that extra big band hammer, and then we'll get you that extra big band hammer from the Jormungandr. And with the Jormungandr. Oh God, it rolls off the mouth so good. The tongue.
I do want to add that's like, I think Rex said this as well, which is to just drop your ego, because everyone is bad at the game. You're probably like, I tell myself all the time that I'm pretty terrible at For Honor, even at my level, and I think a lot of competitive players also don't consider themselves that great at the game. They always trash themselves just like other players. So if you can put in your mindset that, like, if someone's calling you awful and you just kind of roll with it, you're not gonna feel as bad as if you have such an ego where you're thinking you're the best player in the world and someone's kicking your ass and telling you that you actually suck, right?
Right.
You just admit to yourself, like, I could have done this better.
Mm-hmm.
I could have played better. Then you feel better at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But that's the hard route. That's the hard route to take. It's so much easier to just blame it on something else, to blame it on something external, or to say somebody's trash. It's almost a way of making yourself feel better, if anything.
When you get into a fighting game, the first thing they try to teach you, competitive communities, like the first thing they really want to teach you and beat into your head is to let go of that ego, because when you get into competitive for Smash or Mortal Kombat, right, or something like that, they really try to beat into your head that you are not great. Just you always try to learn, always try to learn.
Right.
You play these games, always try to go into a match thinking you'll get a little bit better. Because if you always go into a match thinking you'll win, or you're just gonna thrash out a player or something, then what's the point? What's the point, right?
That's a really good point, because that, like a friend of mine who thinks drums are neat, by the way. He says that he's big into the fighting game community. He's gone to a couple of tournaments, and his friend actually was there during the Daigo parry moment that I bring up from time to time. It's such an epic moment in gaming history. He was like down the road from where that happened, and he could hear the cheers and the chants and stuff from the Thunderdome, if you will. So anyway, I digress. He says that when you're posting your content online of like fighting matches and stuff, what kind of matches are you posting? Are you posting the ones where you win, or are you posting the ones that you lose? And he's saying the ones that you want to post, the ones that you lose, because if you can't post the ones you win, that's the one that's where you seems like you're just people are going to see it as you're just being a braggart. The ones where you lose are the ones where you show what your skill is. But it's also showing that, hey, you can be beat. So then that's not necessarily anything to necessarily follow 100%. But he does have something. He does have kind of a point there. It kind of shows that you're humble a little bit. And in relation to toxicity, you know what I'm saying? That's something that can also prevent toxicity in a sense. Like if you humble yourself, and like Rex was saying, if you humble yourself and you say, you know what, I probably could have done better. There are people that are going to turn around a little bit. There's definitely they're going to turn around, Bright Eyes, But
Yeah.
but there are people that'll just dig in further. They'll keep talking crap, and you really just they're not important. Kind of like with what Fatal said, they're not important. They're not important.
No names.
And the moment
Right.
the moment that you let them get to you, is the moment that is the moment that you're allowing it to kind of come into your bubble, come into your realm. So you got to take a page out of Ramen's book and say, you know what, we're just gonna chill and be happy and smile and do our thing, baby, because that's what we do.
That's
So
exactly right.
moving forward a little bit, the next question was how have you diffused a tense, toxic situation with another player? And I think we've all kind of covered all of that and what we've actually said in the first question. So my follow up to all of this is going to be, generally speaking, what are things that you guys do when you do get tilted? What are some things that you guys do? So what are techniques that you guys go through to kind of help you chill out, help you chillax? Because, myself as an example, yesterday, I had no excuses, but for me, my situation, to paint it for you, like I had a long day. I've been really sick, and of course, if I didn't say that, you guys probably wouldn't have known it. I'm actually really sick right now, but because I think I carry myself as well as I do, you wouldn't have known that if I didn't share it with you. But that's something that it's actually a really good time for me to stop here for a moment and reintroduce the cast. If you guys are just now joining us, thank you so much for being here with us tonight. My name is Norgoz. I'm your host of the weekly Warcry podcast every Friday at 7 Pacific. I am joined today by content creators TopRamanShaman, Real K-Rollers Rex, and we have competitive player and game tester Fatal-Feit with us as well. And his knowledge is only beaten by how... God, I'm just gonna go through this entire show before I get it right. His knowledge is only bested by how great his hair is. I think that's how it was worded, something like that. I don't know. For those of you that are listening on,
Nailed it.
those of you that are just listening to this as a pure podcast, you're not watching the video. We do have something that's new this week. We do have actual gameplay that's going on here, and it's something that I've had trouble with getting utilized in the past, but we actually have it going this week. This is almost in some ways kind of an experiment. I may expand on this in the future, but we have some Jormungandr gameplay from yesterday. Be gentle with me, but to come back to the question here, we all have those situations where we're worn out at the end of the day, like I was, and I've been sick and other things, and I was really easily tilted. You know what I'm saying? I was really easily tilted. I was tilted a lot yesterday, but overall, it is something that at some point, sometimes you got to get away from those situations. So tell me, guys, how do you get away from those situations? Do you do it? Do you actually physically get away from that? Do you metaphorically get away from that? What do you do to separate yourself from the situation long enough to dig back in and put a smile on and get back into that There, go to a happy place. Go to a happy place. Go to a happy place. Oh. Ramen, shoot.
Bro, everybody here already knows what I do. It's elevation, 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 and just working out, bro. That's it. I keep all my de-stressing external. If you want to talk, on the game, or about the game, excuse me, just chill out with some homies, hang out, and not even on the game. Just take a break, hop in Discord, talk about something, talk about a day. But overall, bro, all you need is elevation and just working out, bro. Working out can blow off a lot of steam. Do some yoga, do some.
Yeah. Yoga sucks. Let me just say that, okay? Yoga
It's
sucks.
hard.
I will never, ever, that's what she said. That will never, ever do yoga, okay? Let me explain to you why I won't do yoga, okay? I don't need to bend over 3,655 degrees, okay? I don't need to do that shit in my day-to-day, all right? If somebody's going to punch me and I could, like, do some yoga and be able to, like, wob the womb and get out of it, you know what I'm saying? I'll take the punch. I would rather take the punch than do like an hour. I would rather take the punch than do 90 minutes of yoga a week, okay? I would rather take the punch because I can take it. I can take a freaking punch, all right? I've taken several punches in my lifetime, and I've yet to be knocked on my ass. So that's a thing. That is not a challenge. Shut the hell up. Stop it, all of you. Stop it. Chill out. Calm down. All right, so I like that. All right, so that's one way to handle it. Not necessarily for everybody. And moving forward, I gotta follow up with. So you do yoga and you work out. That's it. Okay, I say working out is probably one. Actually, you know what? Okay, I'm gonna stop for a moment. Working out is one of the best things you guys can do for yourselves in your lives. Okay, I'm not a life coach, but realistically, everybody deals with sadness, depression, lack of sleep, all this good stuff, mood, energy. If you work out on a regular basis, I promise you guys, I've done P90, P90X, T25, you name it, I've probably done it. It's very intense workouts. They are very, very, very intense for, an hour, 90 minutes a day. So the T25 is about 25 minutes. It is tough, okay? But bro, I'm telling you, it will balance you out. You will sleep better. Your mood will be better. You will have better energy if you are eating properly and you are, using like a proper supplement. I'm gonna say proper supplement. I'm not gonna, we're gonna say proper supplement and leave it at that. And so there's no speculation. I'm not saying steroids, okay? Don't do no roid rage bullshit, all right? But I'm saying it will help you, and it will help you with any game that you have issues with in toxicity. I guarantee you it will help you deal with those situations in life and in games. Moving forward, Rex, what are your thoughts on this? What do you do to get away from those situations, physically or metaphorically, and get back to a happy place?
Sure. Well, I think one thing that often helps me is that if I am getting tilted, and by the way, this is not bragging. This is just who I am. I'm not usually an individual who gets tilted. Now, there's a gentleman in the chat who can tell you there's one game in particular I can get tilted on, and Gunsmoke. I'm sure you're out there. I'm sure you can fill them in on that. But in reality, what if I am tilted? If the game is getting to me, if I'm getting frustrated, if I'm taking it out on others, what I will often do is step back away from the game, and I have some of the best stress relievers in the world. And that would be in the form of Mrs. Careless Rex, Rex Jr., and Princess Rex. So a lot of times when I'm getting frustrated with a game, I can go upstairs, I can chill with the wife, I can hang out with the kids. It's really hard to be stressed out when you have two adorable little kiddos running around, and I can just play with them. And any type of toxicity, kids are a great drain on toxicity. I can tell you that right now. But also, I do agree that physical exercise can often be helpful. A lot of times, I'm not really much of an exercise buff. I know it's shocking looking at this, but I'm not much of an exercise buff. But
Wait,
I will go for a walk outside.
Let me stop him right there, okay? I saw him stand up and walk around. This man he's got a little bit more muscle than he's willing to admit, okay? He's got a little bit more. He's got a little bit more in the tank than he's willing to let you see. You know what I'm saying? All right, please continue.
Stick out the chest, bro.
Yeah. That's
Got them
I,
games,
I do
okay.
not condone any of the messages. I condone almost 97.9% of what Norgoz says, but there is that
97.9% of the time, it works 100% of the time.
2.3%. But I tell you what, the other great point of relaxation. This is not a sponsor of the podcast, but right here is about some of the greatest stuff that you can
Oh my
ever drink
God.
in your entire life, and this is what keeps me going right here.
He's
through
holding a can of
playing with
Coors Light, by the way.
toxicity. I am holding a can of Coors Light. It is not gutter water, as you might have been told by the unenlightened. But it does kind of
Mr. Kyle.
transport you and lift you to a better state of mind. But no, just I think the overall theme there is you take a step back and you chill out, because at the end of the day, we get toxic because at the end of the day, we do care. We're passionate about this game.
Passion,
But
there
when
it
you're
is.
getting to that point, you just need to take a step back and you got to chill out for a little bit.
Yeah, Mr. Kyle's right, by the way. Coors Light is gutter water. Gutter water would actually be an improvement, but
Wow.
I'm sorry, bro.
Wow.
Actually,
Wow.
Coors isn't terrible, but the Coors Light is. Anything that's light.
Wow.
But hey, if it gets you tipsy and it gets you drunk, I'll probably drink it. So, bro, how many headsets do you have, Ramen?
I'm a lightweight. I'm not like
No,
you, man.
this is the
I'm not
same
like
one. I
you.
just had to turn my light on.
Are you sure? Are you positive?
Positive, bro. Same one. Check it out,
Are you-
bro.
I don't know,
Gucci
man.
swag.
I feel like he's got another headset that he just whipped out right now. Anyway, so sorry. So okay. So you take a step back. You kind of look at the family, look at the things you got, what you're grateful for. Now you used a word, Rex, that I want to emphasize that I usually like to use myself, and you used the word passion. We are all passionate about this game. Passion comes in many forms. And sometimes passion comes because they are, people are very passionate about the game. Are you done?
I'm done. Yes, please. Yeah. That was at the request. That was at the request of Kelsey. I'll have you know. So that was for you, Kelsey. I got you.
There you go. I got that just for you. There you go. That's just for you, Kelsey. I got your sign. So anyway, moving forward, but yeah, everybody has passion for fashion. Everybody has passion for this game. All the players, the development team, the content creators, we all have a very strong passion for this game, and passion comes in different forms. Sometimes it's if you are losing, you're going to be passionate about that. Sometimes you're going to express that. And sometimes that's where the toxicity comes from. It comes from that interaction, that one interaction. They're just frustrated. They're getting it out there and they're getting it off their chest. And then, like Fatal said, the next time may not be that way at all. May not be that way at all. And I've had those experiences happen. I definitely have. So that's something to keep in mind. You just think of the things that you're grateful for and happy for. Okay, I see. I'm glad that works out for you. Myself, to take a step back for me, there's a lot for me. Sometimes as long as I don't feel disrespected, like genuinely disrespected, I'm pretty good. If somebody's saying or doing something and I feel like they're genuinely trying to get under my skin, that's when it gets under my skin. It's the act, the intent behind the words. So that's what I think sometimes we need to keep in mind, is that if the intent doesn't seem like it's there, it shouldn't cross your mind. You shouldn't think about it twice. If you do truly believe that there's intent there, that's when you may want to consider using some of these techniques to kind of take a step back and don't let that get to you though. Fatal-Feit, coming back to you, what are some of the things you do that's kind of help you de-stress during some sweaty gaming sessions?
Well, I like to change my game mode. So, for example, if there's a team in 4v4 that's getting under my skin for whatever reason, I'd say, all right, I'll try Breach, right? If I went from Dominion, I'll try Breach. And if I just feel like, for example, the players I'm playing with, it tends to be the ones that tilt me the most. I'd be like, all right, I'll try some Brawl or Duels. I'll try to change the environment of the game I'm playing. And I think that's something that, most people should start doing, because I see a lot of people trying to just dodge games or this or that. But I feel like, just change the environment entirely can really help you change your mindset and really lower a lot of stress that you had before. But if that doesn't work for me, if I'm feeling like I'm just playing terrible the entire day, I'll do something just like Rex. I'll probably just like peel off the game. I'll say, I'll try. I want to be productive. I'm playing a video game. let me do something that can take my mind off it. Let me be productive. Does anyone need me? Does is there something I can do? I'll ask my girlfriend, like, do you want a sandwich? Can I just make you a sandwich? Or
My
get her a
man.
drink. Or like I like to cook, right? That's what I do. So I always see if someone wants some food. So I'll do that, and it makes me feel a lot better because I'm just like, I'm stressed, I'm mad, but if I can help someone's day feel a little bit better, a little bit more relaxing, then that makes me feel a lot better inside, right? It's really trying to change the environment for everyone, if not just for yourself, and people feel the same way. You make them do something for them, and just you can start venting to them. They'll be like, "Are you feeling okay?" I'll be like, "No, I'm feeling really tilted because this or that." So it's really just trying to change the environment and try to make things more positive for yourself and for everyone.
Man, listen, Fatal. I just wanted you to know that I think that your hair is amazing, and I don't know what your girlfriend does for you right now, but if you would make me a sandwich, I would love you forever.
I was
had
gonna say, Fatal, if when you're tilted, man, you make sandwiches, like, dude, just call me, man. I'll come over for a sandwich, bro. I got you.
My secret is what is it? Salt and vinegar chips. Add that to a sandwich,
Oh
and it
yeah,
actually
yeah.
tastes so much better.
yes,
Now you
yes,
talking
my
about
man.
language,
My
baby.
man. Salt and vinegar chips and Coors Light make any day better.
Oh God, you lost me at Coors. Wait, hang on a second. Coors, the banquet beer.
That's
There you
right.
go. That's what it is. So guys,
Nailed it.
very very good discussion. So overall, we've talked about a lot of stuff in this section, this segment. We've talked about becoming unbreakable, becoming armored against aggression and toxicity. There's many ways that you can do that. Hopefully, these have brought some ideas to you guys in terms of dealing with that in an appropriate way that's not adding fuel to the fire. Because if you are toxic in return, all it's doing is compounding upon itself. Negativity begets negativity, and that's part of the point that I want to make here. Is negativity begets negativity. This goes from in-game to in Twitch chat and YouTube comments on Reddit, anywhere. Negativity begets negativity. If you come at the devs sideways and you tell them that Raider is completely trash and this and that and the other thing, that's not really going to get you very far. That's not going to get you very far. If you tell them that Raider is OP, I hate him, here's why, and you explain yourself, you're going to get a little bit more. You know what I'm saying? There's a distinct difference. I always say there's a distinct difference in how you approach somebody. If you approach me as a content creator, as an example, if you come into my channel and you're talking about, like, oh man, you're trash, kid, there's a couple ways I can handle that, right? Bringing toxicity into that level. You can joke about it, man, you're right. I am kind of trash, you want to try and take me out to dinner and a movie, like what's your bankroll right now? Are you prepared to support this relationship? Like, what are you like? What are you ready for this? Are you prepared for this? Because you came in here with a goal in mind, and I'm ready to take you up on this. You want to take the trash out right here? I'm ready for you. I'm ready. But you could try and do something silly and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? Improv is your friend, and improv is not always my friend. So moving forward, any final comments on becoming unbreakable that you guys want to add before we move on to our next topic? Nothing. Okay. All right, so
well, I'm sorry. Just let me say, like, if you break yourself down before someone else does it, then you should be better. Like, it's hard to word it, but it's like strip that ego down.
It's
If you
humbling.
can tell yourself that you're already bad, then somebody else telling you that you're bad isn't really gonna hurt you.
Right. Yeah. If you're
That's a good point. Yeah.
Yes.
If I could just add on to that, because that's kind of near and dear to where my heart
Piggyback it, baby.
It's really presumptuous of me to assume that I have nothing to learn and I have nothing to improve upon in this game. And it's kind of like what Fatal said, and what RamanShaman said as well. It's really easy to take the easy road out and just be like, well, I lost because, well, their ping was high. I lost because they were unlock teching. I lost because they're trash, or I lost because they're stupid. It's really easy to try to pin it on them. But I've actually seen this in a lot of competitive players who stream. They will say, if they got hit by something, if something didn't go their way, I will hear this key phrase: what could I have done to stop that? And they will start rolling through their mind what is it that I could have done that would have prevented me from dying, or prevented that from hitting me, or prevented that particular situation from happening? And that to me is the sign of a good player, one who is always seeking to improve, because there's always going to be someone out there who on a particular given day or time is going to be able to beat you. That's a reality that exists. So if we're willing to come down off of our high horse and say, and have an open mind and say, I am always ready to listen, I'm always ready to learn, then number one, I don't think you're going to become tilted or be too offended when people attack you or try to be toxic towards you. And number two, you might even be able to turn some of those toxic relationships into positive relationships by asking, hey, what could I have done in X, Y, or Z situation? In turn, you become a better player.
Well said. Well said. All right, so we've got that's gonna do it for becoming unbreakable against toxicity and or against becoming unbreakable, armored against aggression and toxicity. Our next topic coming up right now is going to be unlocked attacks, and for some reason I accidentally restarted that footage. If you guys are watching live, I apologize. I didn't realize that was going to happen when I changed some of the settings. So moving on, unlocked attacks. I'm going to put this in context because there's a few different definitions of unlocked attacks. You know, we have Raiders unlocked charge. We have Warlords unlocked charge. We've got Conqueror's shield bash charge that knocks people down, which the Jormungandr can then punish people for, which is kind of sexy. But that's not entirely what I'm speaking about when I talk about unlocked attacks. What I'm talking about with unlocked attacks is if you throw a light attack, but then you unlock from it, it kind of throws off a lot of the mechanics in the game. You know, sometimes indicators can flicker, sometimes indicators will cause you to miss a parry, and sometimes the mechanics altogether, because you've unlocked, you're not going to be able to parry in some of these situations. So it can cause a lot of frustration on both of those fronts if you are not ready for those, expecting those, and that's probably partly why there's a lot of people that will prefer to not parry and just block, because block is safer than parry typically. Of course, unless you have an unblockable, you know, you gotta parry it or try to dodge, and now dodging is not as safe. So semantics. Moving forward. So at first, let's have a little fun with this. So what is your personal favorite unlock attack to perform? And I will start us off on this because I am a Zerk/Raider main. However, this season I have committed myself to becoming a Hamar main, and I will master this hero, damn it, if it takes all of the hair on my head, and I don't have that much left. So here's the deal. Mine is Raider's Charge. That's my favorite unlocked attack to perform. It is my that's my favorite. It's my favorite, and it feels good. It's satisfying to grab somebody and throw them off a ledge or throw them into the wall. Then you get the knee kicked, and it's even better. It's like oh man, did you see that? Oh baby, he need that motherfucker in the face. Oh shit.
Got your shit kicked
It's,
in.
I mean,
What?
okay, listen, to the devs, thank you guys for making those animations. That was, it is very satisfying to grab, throw them over your shoulder, and then throw them into the wall. You get the knee kick to the jaw. I mean, it's beautiful. It's so good. It's so good. All right, moving forward. So what are your guys' favorite unlock attacks? And I'm going to start this one off with Fatal-Feit.
So we're talking about not unlocks, but like an unlocked attack a character has, right?
Either or, actually. I figure either or is going to be appropriate because some people are going to think we mean unlocks in terms like the tackles, and some people are going to think that we mean unlocked attacks in terms of like you throw an attack but you're unlocked during the process. So either or counts here. So we're going to cover both of them.
Well, I don't really have a favorite unlocked attack. I've always had issues with one of them. So I'd say like my favorite unlocked attack was back then where Lawbringer still had his block shove and things like that, because I liked those guaranteed lights I get from just blocking attacks. I don't know if we're allowed to say this.
Say that again?
I really enjoyed the Lawbringer's unlocked lights. Like those were the times where I block an attack and I get a free damage.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was
One
it
of
was very
those.
toxic, very
One of
so it was a
those.
huge exploit, but
I
I had
remember
so much
this.
fun learning the timings for it.
Yeah,
I
it was
think
fun.
something
Miss
For
those
Honor
days.
struggled with is nuance pressings, nuance controls, and unlocked attacks really added like that level of depth to the gameplay. So just pressing those buttons, like it's not right, but just pressing those buttons to make it work. It was like playing a different fighting game in For Honor, right? It was adding that level of depth to the game, and I enjoyed it while it lasted.
I understand. I see where you're coming from. I remember the first 1 versus 1 competitive tournament I ever entered was versus a Lawbringer, a pre-rework Lawbringer. And that's pretty much what took place is a lot of running and stabbing and booping, bopping. A lot of that took place. And
Is
it
there a
was,
difference between booping and bopping?
yeah,
Is that a technical difference?
okay, listen, the difference between booping and bopping, okay? When you bop somebody is when you take the big long arm and you just bop them in the head, okay? You just bop them, all right? The booping, okay, is when you decide to unlock and you come up and you get the bop and you get the follow up the shove, okay? You get the
Right,
shove,
right.
all right? And you get them up against the wall, and that's when you just grab them by the head, you throw them on the fucking ground, and you smash their head. That's the boop, okay? That's the
That's
boop.
the boop.
Also rhymes with boot, as a matter of fact, you know.
I mean, I appreciate the clarification. This is why I come here and I learn these things.
Exactly. You see, you know what I'm saying? It's that Lawbringer was wanted to be a Highlander. Okay, was originally a Highlander, failed at picking up the big sword because he doesn't have as big muscles. Okay, so he decided to don, but he doesn't skip leg day, so he puts on the armor. Okay, and because he doesn't skip leg day, he can hold the armor up. Okay. And he's got the pole arm, but it's hollowed out. Okay, he's just got the big thing on the. Got the little bitty axe on the end because that's how pole axes are. Just little bitty, just a little on the end. You know what I'm saying? It's not about what
Right.
size matters. You know what I'm saying? The smaller the size,
Right.
the sharper the thing. It's okay. It works for them. Okay, so that's kind of how that worked out. So okay.
Gotcha.
All right, so I see where you're coming from. I see where you're coming from, Fatal. That was a situation where I could see that was definitely enjoyable for one party, but not two. So, like I said, we're having fun. We're having fun with it. Following up with K. Rollis. All right, Rex.
All right.
Tell
Well,
me,
I mean,
what's your favorite unlock?
what's my favorite unlock? All right. So I mean, as the pretty screen says, I'm an Aramusha main. So one of the greatest things about Aramusha, and the thing that I definitely miss the most about him when I'm not playing Aramusha, is going down to the minion lane and turning on what I like to call the minion lawnmower and just rolling through minions like butter. Just the unlocked infinite chain. It just goes on and on and on. It's a thing of beauty. Someone tries to
And
get
on
in
and
there
on
and
and
interrupt you, and you can direct and attack Torum and try to interrupt and keep going on the minions, man. It's a thing of beauty. It's gorgeous.
all right. Well, that's kind of fun, I suppose. I've seen you do that. You know, I've seen you do that. I had to picture it. I had to picture it in my head. Okay, I got it now. Yeah, you're trash.
Wow.
Aramusha. Just because I'm kidding. No, that does it.
Aramusha nerf win.
That's exactly what it is, though. It's kind of like a lawnmower. You know, you're going. You're just cutting down the weeds, man. You know what I'm saying? I got you.
Yeah. I mean,
All right.
it's really just a step above Conk in the minion lane at that point. But yeah, it's a little bit better than that.
Ramen, I can't wait to hear. I have a pretty good idea about what yours is going to be, and I hope it's what I think it is. Please, brother, lay it on us.
Kind of put me on the spot, guy. Come on, what if I don't say it?
Hey, look, man, you know, listen. Forget about it. You don't just be yourself, all right?
What are you doing, huh?
Hey, I know you're not a clown here to amuse me. Just do your thing, man.
I'm doing it.
Do it.
So, you know, with my style of play, I like to keep things a little more tech heavy based, keep it fun, you know, kind of mix it up a little bit. Obviously, I like the infamous dummy run. I don't know what you want me to say, but
Please explain
my
that for
favorite,
us, those of us who don't know what a dummy run is. Please lay the groundwork for this and plant the seed so the seed will grow into a sprout and a plant so that we can, you know, fertilize and harvest the plant. Please.
All right, here we go. For those of you Shugo maids out there, look, eye contact, all right? I'm talking from the soul right now. For those Shugo mains out there, bro, gotta utilize this. What you do, this is called the TopRamanShaman Dummy Run, the 2019 tech to end all techs. So what you do is you unlock, run away. Now you want to keep it tight towards your opponent. You don't want to go far off because they won't initiate a chase. So you run in close with a running heavy attack on Shugo, and then lock back on and full charge a heavy, which you can either let the heavy fly or you can just, toss it into a hug. You have all Shugo's options. Toss it into a hug, cancel it into a side light, this and that. But that's basically the aspect of the dummy run. It's to make your opponent think that you're stupid when they're stupid.
Okay. So you try to catch them off guard with that.
Exactly.
Okay. I'm just taking some notes here, just to make sure
All
that
right.
I'm on the same page here for you. You know what I'm saying? Like, all right. Okay.
You got it down? You good?
I got it. I got it.
All right.
I got it, brother. I got it. So, all right, I got it all right there for you. So, got the
Appreciate it.
seriousness up in there. All right, so no, really, if you guys haven't seen that, go ahead and watch TopRamanShaman's Shugoki Guide. It's on his YouTube channel. He goes through the dummy run as well as a lot of other things, Shugo related. Very, very good guide. Very, very good guide. I'm telling you, it's not only authentic, good advice. It is very entertaining and creative in how he delivers that information. You know what I'm saying? Go find out. Tell you what. Here's a little homework for you guys. Go find out what the double what is it now? The double barbecue. Now I'll put it this way. Find out what putting some sauce on it means. All right. Find out what
Put some
putting some
sauce on your combo.
All right. Find out what that is and come back and see us next week. And we'll check your work. All right. All right. Time is of the essence. You got 1 week. Let's go. Okay. So I kind of cut you off there to get that example of the dummy run. Please continue, sir.
Oh, but I mean, that's about it, man. It's I have other moves. For example, I'm sure everybody knows about them hashtag RPOs, baby, them roly-poly lights. Gotta love the roly-poly lights. It's
Yeah.
the best ender in the entire game. And that's what I love, bro. Just keeping something tricky, keeping your opponent off guard, keep them on their toes. I love me some unlock tech.
All right, man. And you use a lot of that. I see you don't use a ton of it like constantly, but you definitely use some of it, like with the roly-poly lights, and the dummy runs. And it is insanely effective, guys. It is insanely effective. There are more people that fall for that than I got no line for this that feels appropriate for Twitch, so I'm gonna leave it alone. I'm just gonna say there's not a lot. There's more people that fall for it than don't. Okay. All right, like 60% of the time, it works 100% of the time. You know what I mean? So moving forward, we have sorry, I had to click a thing. So unlocked text. We talked about what's your favorite one. Now we've got a couple other questions here to go in here, but now's a good time to reintroduce the cast here. My name is Norgoz, and I'm glad that you guys are here. We're about roughly an hour into the show. Hope you guys are having a wonderful evening. Happy Friday night to you. Happy Friday. Happy Friday evening. Happy Saturday. Whatever it is where you guys are, we appreciate you joining us. Again, I'm your host, Norgoz, of the Weekly Warcry Podcast. I'm joined by TopRamanShaman, K-Rolus Rex, and the Fatalist of Fates.
Hello, everyone.
Really, really good people. Really appreciate y'all being here. Content creators. And Fatal-Feit is also a competitive player as well. Very, very good individuals. Lots of good perspective and knowledge. This is where you guys come for the perspective, for the knowledge, or lack thereof. Me. Because apparently that's the popular thing, is that when I ask a question, I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. I love
we don't
that.
know what the heck we're saying, dude.
You know, it's like, dude, like, what do you mean exactly? So what do you mean that why do people get toxic? People get toxic because they get pissed off and they want to say fuck you, and that's their God-given right. You know what I mean? You know. So anyway, moving on. So the next question is going to be one of those questions. Do you guys consider, I know this is going to be a really touchy subject for some people. A really touchy subject for some people, okay? All right. Do you consider unlocked attacks an exploit? And the last question I started with Fatal, ended with Shaman. I'm going to start with Rex.
Do I consider an unlocked attack to be an exploit? You know, I'm going to be honest with you, Norgoz. We just talked about having no idea what we're talking about. And when we come to
Whoa,
unlocked
hey, I know
attacks,
exactly what I'm talking about. I have to give the explanation so everybody
man.
knows we're talking about two different things.
Hey, man,
Stop
remember,
yelling
this
at
is
me.
this is the guy who said Coors Light is gutter water. So I think your
Wow.
record stands
My credibility,
in
huh?
utter contrast, sir, to your proposed statement. So denied, rejected, and we're moving forward. So let me rephrase that. I do not know what I'm talking about, but when it comes to unlock techs, I remember exactly what Fatal was talking about, and I'm gonna be honest. Like I said, I'm pretty passive. I don't get too salty very often, but in a duel, especially when I'm playing as Aramusha, and there is just not a lot that can be done to open up a lawbringer, old lawbringer, new lawbringer alike with Aramusha. That was annoying. That would kind of tick me off, but I never really considered it an exploit because I think for for things like clearing minions and for just an immediate reaction to someone coming up to you when you're not quite locked on, I think there has to be some sort of unlock attacks in the game. So just from a 30,000 foot view, no, I number one don't see them being a particular issue, at least at once again, I'm not on Fatal's level, so I have no idea what gameplay looks like up there in the higher realms. But down in the dungeons where I play, I don't really see it being that big of an issue. I mean, it's certainly used. I run across a lot of Shugos like TopRamanShaman, who I ran across the other day and who did use unlock tech on me quite a bit. But no, I do not consider it to be an exploit. And I don't really consider it to be that much of an issue. Once again, uninformed opinion, but it is my opinion.
There you go. A man who stands by himself. I like it. I like it. Ramen. Your thoughts? Do you consider unlocked attacks exploits?
No, I don't. But at the same time, I look at it this way: if it's something in the game that doesn't have a counter, if I unlock and just throw a heavy and it's guaranteed 50 damage and you can't do anything against it, then I'll view something as an exploit, something that needs to be fixed, something that needs to be looked at. But in terms of the fact that most unlocked tech can be countered in the game, I don't view it as an exploit. To be honest, I view it more as something that allows you to have more of an individual play style. I can't tell you how many times I fought somebody and somebody typed in the chat, "Oh, what the fuck is your play style? Like, what are you doing?" It's I love it, bro.
Barbecue.
I love it. It makes me me. I feel like if I didn't have the dummy runs and the roly poly lights and the turnaround grabs and the millions of other things that I like to use, I would just be, no offense to any other people out there, but I'd just be another bland, boring Shigoki that just sits there and does nothing. And
Yeah.
I just can't do that.
That is very, very well stated, and I agree with you on pretty much everything that you just said. If you guys have never seen, okay, you guys truly can't appreciate what TopRamanShaman has said if you haven't watched his content or if you haven't watched his guide. Like I said, when it comes to creativity of the creativity with him is the creativeness of the way his playstyle is, the attacks that he runs, the way that he goes about attacks, the combos that he makes up combos that aren't exactly chained together through the mechanics, but he makes them happen. Those are the kind of things when it comes to options. When I talk about options, that's the kind of things that I'm also talking about too. We need options in fighting games. We need options in For Honor. And when it comes to characters and heroes, we need options. More options are not necessarily a bad thing. More options in some ways can hurt people if you have limited options with certain heroes that limit their effectiveness. But with others, you have multiple options. That's when there's something that we may need to take a look at from a bigger, broader perspective, right? But of course, from a gameplay perspective, from an individual perspective, I highly recommend that you take a look at the way Ramen plays his Shigoki, because you're probably going to be surprised. You're probably going to be seeing some things that you haven't seen before. You're probably going to see those things that just will blow your mind that you otherwise wouldn't have thought of. because I mean the way he calls his attacks, you know, putting the sauce on the combo, the sauce. It's I mean, thank you. It's the God that was very sensual from the sensual savage.
Ramen Shaman Azamar win.
ASMR win. ASMR all day. This man, when he sings, is it's too good too. He's got an amazing singing voice.
You're making me blush.
I know,
Thank you,
I
bro.
know.
Appreciate you.
I'm just being factual here. And Fatal-Feit has got all of the skill in the world. He's still a monster. I haven't, because I know that there's, I mean, I know I went back and I've watched some of the YouTube footage that Fatal has had over the years, and I've seen you and some of the, like, just recently, and other, you know, when somebody else was streaming, they got up in touch with you, and you're still a beast, bro. You're still a beast. You're still really, you got that skill. So what we need to do is we need to get you on screen, like one night only, just to. I'm just kidding. Like, I know every show I pick on Fatal a little bit, about being a content creator, because I know everybody says, hey, we want Fatal. I was like, well, I gotta at least say, the people want what they want. I gotta at least throw it out there and say, hey, you know what I'm saying, or else they're gonna be like, hey, Norgoz, you're not giving us what we want. Don't think that I'm gonna give you everything that you want, guys. Sometimes you don't know what you want. You don't know what you need. I'm not gonna give you what you don't need. All right, Fatal, my man. All right, so do you consider unlocked attacks an exploit?
I mean, again, like it really depends on which ones you're talking about, and because there's like target switching, right? That's, some people refer to that as unlocks. There's unlocking to attack a minion, right? During, you know, as Rick said, he said, like, you know, that's a moment that can happen. You unlock, attack a minion, then relock. But then there's it's really hard to say, because in my opinion, yes, unlocks are an exploit, but unlocks like target swapping, unlocking to attack a minion, that's not an exploit, because that's still within the game's parameters and what they intend for some heroes. Because you look at the characters like Jing Jun, right? His whole kit is, let me lock on from one character to another, and that's how I mix up, you know, my opponents. I am made to fight more than one person. I am made to do stuff like that. But then you have what I was talking about earlier, which was shove off a block, I unlock, guarantees my light. Now that I can call that an exploit. So it's really, it really depends on which you're talking about here. But I also understand how it's shaky for many people regarding For Honor, because For Honor is a very you know, for lack of a better term, it's very spaghetti coated, right? So it's hard to call, you know, something unintended, or if it works in certain ways. Like, it's really hard
Difficult
to
to
tell
place it.
if it's, yeah, it's really difficult to place if it's intended or not. And I always like to say, like, it really doesn't matter, because the developers are learning how to make this game, and what the For Honor even is, as we are. So it's up to us to kind of claim what things are, but we also have to understand that developers can always change things anytime. Like, before, target swapping wasn't an idea they had in mind. They keep intending for players to either gank or stay locked on one, but now it's like they're constantly designing heroes to constantly target swap, right? And before, players would find that to be an exploit. They'd say that's unfair. That's not something that they had in mind when they play a character. But now that's something that developers are clearly trying to push for a lot of hero designs. So it's very hard to say, but I like to say it really doesn't matter. I think it was you, Norgoz, who mentioned it, but like, having more nuance to heroes designs and things like that is really important. I think frustration comes from not knowing what you're dealing with. I think for competitive players, a lot of times it's, we don't have a lot of movesets, we don't have a lot of tools, so we're finding new ways to make the game more engaging and fun for us. When I played, when unlocks were a huge thing, it wasn't like, oh, this is unfair, this is annoying. It was, well, here's a new way to play the game versus this opponent who's, you know, who's more on my level. Now we know how to deal with each other. We're doing different things. But I'm sure that if we did that to a new player who only saw the game as parry, block, dodge, then they're probably like having a difficult time dealing with that, right? They don't know what to do. The game doesn't teach them. So I don't know. Like, for me, is it an exploit? I think for the most part it can be, but I don't think that's a bad thing. I don't think exploit should have the negative connotation it comes with. It usually doesn't for fighting games, which is interesting. With For Honor, a lot of these things people say they want change, they want it fixed, they want it addressed. But if you look at a lot of other fighting games, you know, they're always excited about new exploits, always excited about new things like these that adds more depth and variety to the characters, more nuances. It's never a bad thing in a fighting game. You know, the more players can do, the more they can do to interact with each other, the better. I think it's just a matter of teaching these players these new things, and having the developers teach players like Rex who encounter these things and that doesn't know how to deal with them, how to deal with them, so that when it happens, he feels more like it's in his realm of engagement and more in his realm of enjoyment than just flat out dealing with something he has no idea what to do with.
Okay. I was a little I was I was thinking about how you kind of you worded some of that, and you're talking about the like the nuances and the mechanics and the way the game engine is written. And as I understand it, the engine wasn't necessarily designed for this game. So whatever becomes of this game, For Honor, a fighting game, Ubisoft's first foray into the fighting game genre, and a hell of a foray it has been. The engine, and feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but as I understand it, it was not designed for a fighting game. So what we can do is or what we have to keep in mind is that whatever happens with the game, if there are any, if there are there's definitely going to be difficulties behind the scenes in changing this mechanic or that mechanic and things of that nature, and there are going to be things like what Fatal said that may come up as like spaghetti like, right, where it's whether it's intended or not, we don't know, and it's something that there's going to be things like that. And I always try to advocate a little bit for the devs because they get so much crap, right? And there's a lot of it that's just completely unnecessary. It's completely excessive. And but if I'm disappointed in something, I will tell you. Like Shigoki's nerf. I completely, we talked about that last week. I was very adamant about, like, there was no point to me. The justification for that didn't make any sense. Like Shugo versus Shugo, that's your main reason for nerfing the Shugo health. That made no sense to me. If you're that one scenario is going to nerf that character against all other characters, I really don't see I really don't see the point in it. Had they done it in the very beginning, this is where the optics come into play. Had they done it in the very beginning when they changed Shugo's overall kit, that I could have understood, because I was surprised. It's like, oh, I was thinking it was going to be some, like, X number of damage, but heals just a little bit less. I was thinking something like that, so you don't run into those situations where you can just keep it going. Anyway, so I wanted to bring some light to that, and very very, and I appreciate you bringing all the insight with that Fatal. It's that's what we always want to have, is that objective way of thinking, and bringing those things from behind the scenes we may not have considered before. We have a couple other questions here right now I want to go over with unlocked attacks. We talked about Raider, Warlord, Conqueror getting unlocked charges. And for these specific types of unlock attacks, I want to ask you guys, what do you think in terms of why are these good for the game? And again, for those of you watching or listening around the world, these questions are out of context purposely. Do not read too much into them. So, the question is, Raider, Warlord, Conqueror all get some type of version of a charge, and it's an unlocked charge. Why are these good for the game? Fatal, I ended with you. I'm going to come back to TopRamanShaman for the first one here.
Uh, as I mentioned before, it's really just all about individuality. It keeps a you got to look at fights almost like dancing, right? So you have that moment where you're both locked and ready to go. You guys are throwing attacks. You guys are countering each other's play. But there's that one moment where somebody dips off. Somebody runs back and tries to come in for a myriad of options, bro. A guard break, whether it's a guard break, a charge from a raider, a bash from a conk. The examples that you use. It takes the flow of the fight and it shifts it in a different direction that For Honor needs. And in my opinion, For Honor shouldn't be a game, because I know back, correct me if I'm wrong, because I probably am, but back in like season 2, 3 something, when unlock tech was really heavy, everyone was, they thought it was cheap. They thought it ruined games. Um, And yeah, some of the exploits did, but at the same time, it allowed certain players to go that extra step with their character. It allowed them to, say, "Oh, I didn't know I could do that. I thought I could only stand here and throw heavies and lights and do this." But adding that mix into the game where it kind of throws your opponent off, it causes them to guess. For Honor really needs, honestly, as much as it can get in terms of, what's the word I'm looking for? In terms of
Options.
options. Thank you.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you.
It's my favorite word for when it comes to fighting games. It's my favorite word, options. Well,
Love
okay, I
options.
want to make a fighting game right now. The four of us are going to make a fighting game. Okay, we're going to make a 2D fighting game. It's going to be a side-scrolling game. It's going to be classic, traditional fighting game. Okay, it's going to be based around the same kind of idea as like a Street Fighter. Okay, we are going to have some supers. We're going to have a basic attack. We're going to have low and high attack, low and high kick, low and high punch, low and high kick. Very basic. 2 hits. Low high kick, low high punch, and that's it. You have you're going to have a super, and you have got the 2D. We're going to have breakable objects in the background or something, in some way, shape, or form. And the thing is that you have a simple kit that I just outlined. You have 2 hits, right? You have 2 punches that are going to be very fast, and there's going to be low and a high. You have kicks that are going to be stronger. Those are going to be a low and a high. You're going to have blocks, of course. You're going to have blocks that are going to be, and of course, you're going to have jumping attacks with that. Just to be clear, you're going to have high, low blocks, that kind of stuff. Now, we got all that out of the way. I know some of you guys just following along. I know that may be a lot to take in. Just stick with me for a minute. Trust me on this one, okay? You're going to appreciate this. So we've got our game laid out. We've got the foundation laid for it, and we have like 1 super for every character. Now, what do we have in terms of options for these characters? How do we differentiate these characters from each other? Because we launched the game with just a low and a high punch and a kick, 1 super and a jump attack. We could definitely attract some people, but how are we going to be differentiating ourselves from other games? So I want to deviate from our questions from this. And I want to talk about this for a moment. So option wise, how do we differentiate from other traditional fighting games? What are we going to implement into the game and that's going to change the overall feel and perspective? You know, you have Street Fighter has got the V trigger. You have Tekken, which has got excessive juggling. You have Samurai Showdown, which is its niche is that the attacks are so powerful that it's very heavily defensive. You have all of these things with different games that makes it niche. You have For Honor that has the defense reticle of 3 different directions of attacks. Okay, what do we do in terms of options for us? I genuinely want to get some feedback from this and thought process on it from you guys, and I want to come to Fatal first on this.
So
hypothetical situation.
So what are you asking specifically for this?
For this particular situation, what do you do in a situation with a game like that has very basic attacks, has like 1 super? What do you do to differentiate yourself from other fighting games to give your players options? Because you don't have there's no basic real basic combos. You have like 1 super. What do you do to provide your players options?
It's really about thinking about what you can do to stretch the system that you have, the mechanics, without removing the core of what you're trying to design. So I guess if we're going to say the core of this game, this fighting game we're designing, is being simplistic, having very small amount of a tool set for our heroes, for our characters, which is a light, a heavy, and that's it, right? Like no combos, right?
Right.
If you want to stick to that, so you have to think about you have to think like, what if this is going to be our core? This is our niche. What is the maximum we can stretch for this? And since it's 2D, it's much easier than a 3D game like For Honor, right? So for this, we don't have to think about external hitbox. We don't have to think about this or that. We just have to think about what the details we can put into each attack to differentiate that. So we can say for 1 character, right? We can make 1 character focus a lot on super armor. So he focuses a lot on trading. So he has maybe 500 MS attacks, right? 500 MS attacks, so it's very slow, but he has armor on it, compared to another character who might have 300 to 400 MS attacks. and now we can even make it even more deeper to say, let's make them increments of 33 ms, right? So we have characters who are designed around having low damage values, but have very fast increments, as in like 233 ms attacks, right? Or and then say her heavy attack it's like her heavy attack is super slow, but it trades or something like that. And this character, maybe they don't have heavy attack in their heavy hyper armor in their heavy attacks. Maybe they just straight up have super armor. That's their whole kit. They have super armor, but their attacks are super slow. 600 ms for heavies, 500 ms for lights. Super slow, but super armor throughout. So they don't have to. You don't have to put too much thoughts into that. So it's really about stretching the maximum you can out of this limitation you have. And I'm sorry, I don't mean to get off topic, but that's like game development 101, right? Where you think about it's not about what you can do, but it's always about what you can't do. You have to think about what you don't want to do. I have a friend who's working on Watch Dogs Legions, right? He's working on that game. He's I believe creative director, something like that. Very big position on this game. And he tells me the best games you play at Ubisoft, like say Assassin's Creed Black Flag and stuff, it's not because these people have great ideas and they keep putting it into the game. It's because there's a guy who says, we can't do this, we can't do that, let's just not do this. And so if we take that and look at For Honor, the issue For Honor has is that nobody knows what to do with this game. And that's not a bad thing. It's just it's so different, it's so new. Nobody knows what the limitations is. Nobody knows what they should or shouldn't do with these character designs. Because if now we're designing a 2D game, it's much easier. It's much more simple. We're telling ourselves this is our confinement. It's 2 attacks. It's 2 attacks, maybe a super, things like that. But For Honor, it's not just 2 attacks. It's different combos. How do we design a hero? Like how do we design a hero with external hitbox as a variable and things like that? So it's very hard when you like try to think about like how these developers are thinking about designing For Honor and what their limitations or lack of limitations and what they have and what they can do with it compared to the game we're talking about right now.
So you brought a lot of good stuff to the table in that, a really lot. So the main focus that I want to take back from that is like what you said. When it comes to game development, it's about what you can't do and how you can do the things that you can, and how you go about getting done the things that you can't do, so to speak. So, like as an example, like I know I'm not a game developer per se, but I've dealt with coding in a limited sense. I've coded some things like, and by coding I mean very basic stuff. I went back and was trying to code mods for like I think it was Neverwinter Nights 2, where it was going to be like basically like a whole open world MMO kind of deal. It was so how do I make an alternate advancement system, as an example? There's nothing for that in the game. Like, so how do I do that? Okay, so I can get some okay, so there is an option to give a player a permanent buff of like plus X to stats. So that's what we do. We go to this merchant and but he just keeps going to the merchant and getting that buff. Okay. And it keeps going up. Okay, so how do I prevent that? So you put a character flag on the character. So every time you have that character flag, it increases that character flag number where you've got a hidden number of like, points. And you can take away points every time you go to that merchant. So that's the kind of how like kind of feeds into that. I kind of went on a different direction with that, just to kind of say like, this is kind of what I've done. I kind of see where you're coming from with that thought process. So, and Fatal hit the nail on the head, which is exactly what I was looking for. Is like, you limit yourself to a very basic kit, right? How do you change that kit into something that's much bigger than what it is? You see about doing super or hyper armor, something that's going to trade. You change up the speed of the attacks. You you have some alterations with that. Really, really good examples of making the best of a situation where you're limiting yourself. And of course, he doesn't need me to say that. He knows that. I'm saying it to you to help put wrap it up with a bow and putting it on top as a gift to you guys. It is something that I think that this is the reason why I bring Fatal back every week. This is why I want Fatal on the show. And this is why I appreciate that he gives us his time, because he's done a lot of in-depth testing and he's got the right mindset to bring us answers like that, and the headspace for those type of questions where it was completely off the cuff. This is not something we planned for, and he gave us that information. So that's really great. And that's exactly what I'm looking for. Making the best of those situations. And it goes back to what I was saying when it comes to the mechanics in the engine. So so the development team is doing what they're kind of stretching this engine as far and as much as they can. And I think it's really, really awesome to see them do a lot of different things, new things they're really, really pushing the envelope, I feel like, with some of these newer heroes. And even if they fall flat, even if they turn, even if those heroes end up falling flat, it is something that I commend them on really going out there and saying, okay, well, we're going to make this, as an example, the Hammer Hero. We're going to make this Hammer Hero. He's not going to have a very big kit, but he's going to be based on this, and it's going to have this whole new punish that is based on out of stamina that's unique to this character, which is actually awesome. Anytime you have a downed opponent, you get to do that punish of 50 damage. That's really cool. And the stun on that son of a bitch is insane, by the way. We'll get to that later. Okay. So, I'm actually just going to throw this out there. It's like, I think Fatal covered a lot of what I wanted to go through with options. But so bringing us back to the game, the fighting game, we're making this 2D fighting game. So, if you're just joining us, we're talking about making a 2D fighting game. Hypothetically speaking, how do we make options for a 2D fighting game where we have basic 2 low and high hits, low and high kicks, and then a super? And that's pretty much what we have. How do we bring options to the table? Top Ramen and Rex, what do you guys have something you would like to add to that?
No, I mean, from my perspective, Fatal hit the nail on the head and spoke to it in a much more deeper way than I could ever hope to.
Okay. Shaman?
I'm the same exact way, bro. It'd be a disrespect to try and add on to that man's points. I know nothing about this.
Just to point out, you hit the nail on the head too, guys, when you said that's exactly why you bring Fatal on the show. And I learned a lot from listening to Fatal on last week's podcast in particular. So, but that's definitely not why you bring eye candy like RamanShaman and then your classic dumb guy comedian Rex on the show. So
no, I bring you guys.
We each got our distinct roles.
You do have your distinct roles. You all have different perspective on everything that we bring to the table. This is a question that it's a very complicated question. It's something that is very, very intimate in game development, and it's not something that everybody can answer. So it's something that even myself, I can only touch on a little bit. But giving my example, that's kind of like where my understanding comes from. I've done things like that to an extent, to a very small extent. So I understand what kind of what it means to make the most of a system that wasn't meant for what you want to do or what you need to have done, right? So I think it's really awesome that, as an example, like the dev team of For Honor has that, and that's really what I was coming back to. Is that Fatal was talking about 2D versus 3D? That was the big takeaway from that too. You have a 2D fighting game, you have a traditional fighting game like Street Fighter, right? Versus a 3D fighting game like For Honor. It's a whole new world. It's a whole new world. It's okay, you can turn off the stream now. I'm just kidding. I appreciate you guys sticking with us. Show's over now, guys. I did my part. I did my part. All right, so this is a good time to reintroduce the stream. We pretty much covered the majority of what I want to cover on the unlocked attacks. I have one final question on that, but first, welcome to the weekly Warcry. I am your host, Norgoz, and I am joined today by 3 magnificent warriors in the House of Ghosts today. TopRamanShaman. We have Carolus Rex in Fatal-Feit.
Howdy.
Howdy, partner. I got the horses in the back. All right. Do you believe in miracles? Do you guys believe that unlocked attacks? No, we just went over that. We just went over whether they're healthy, whether they're exploits or not. That's pretty much covers the thing. But for the overall health of the game, do you believe? Well, we pretty much covered that too. We've talked about how unlocked attacks, if there's something where you don't have an option to react to them at all, like if you do a wind up and you're unlocked and that causes the mechanics to falter and you can't react to that, you try to parry it and there's no way for it to actually connect. That's when it becomes something that's questionable, and that's where we may need to take a look at it. So I think we've covered that pretty much. Any final thoughts that you guys would like to add before we move on to our next segment, GG No Re? Okay. Good deal. All right, we've covered that in a lot. GG, no re. Now, what do I mean when I say GG, no re? Now, roughly 70% of, and this is based on purely on my experience, this is roughly 70% of duel and brawl matches that I encounter do not rematch for best 2 out of 3 situations. Now, what do I mean when I say best 2 out of 3? I literally mean best 2 out of 3 matches. I don't mean, going to a custom match 2 out of 3. No, I mean, so you have a match of 5 rounds. You lose for that 5-round match. That person leaves immediately. You're ready to rematch. That person leaves immediately. That's what I'm talking about. Or the vice versa. You win and that person leaves immediately. It's something that is very, very frustrating for me from somebody who grew up on fighting games like Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat. It comes down to I think in some ways it comes down to a difference in the community, I suppose, and there's not an option there to go into that. There's not because in Street Fighter there's an option for that. I don't know about the newer Mortal Kombats and Tekken and stuff, but in Street Fighter there's an option for that where you can lock in and you're pretty much locked into a best 2 out of 3 situation when you meet somebody in matchmaking. I like that. It would be nice to see something like that in For Honor, because that's going to encourage, that option would be an encouragement to see people do best 2 out of 3. Now, the way that, to put this in perspective, because this might not solve the problem, and it's not going to solve the entire problem. It's not. But the way that it works in Street Fighter is if after you win or lose a match, right? You add that in so that after the match you can lock in best 2 out of 3. That's how it happens. I don't think it's an option that you can do right away. I think it happens after that first match. So you can do best 2 out of 3, and then you can just keep going from there and just keep rematching if you want to. And I think you only learn more the more you fight someone. Especially if you lose, right? Loss is a better teacher in life and in games than success ever will be. I believe that in a lot of ways. I truly believe though that I'd like to see more 2 out of 3 situations. Now I've been given a couple examples, and I'll give you mine, and I'll hear from my guests. But a couple of examples. I asked this question this week on my stream, and I got a few answers. It comes down to difference of like how people play. One answer was that some people they take it as, they have the attitude that after that first match, it basically becomes sweaty. People learn your play style, and it turns into some kind of a toxic match because people know how you play and they abuse how you play and something like that. And that's kind of paraphrasing, but I thought that my immediate response to that, I'm going to quote myself word for word, is that is a terrible, terrible attitude to have. If you're not rematching somebody because you're afraid that they're going to be toxic because you think that them abusing, or not abusing necessarily, but getting punishing you for mistakes that you make, I think you're not really opening yourself up to new horizons. If you look at the fighting game world, it's built upon learning your opponent. Some people do this quicker than others. If you beat somebody senseless in a match, and then they come back in the next game, they may beat you senseless in the second match, and that puts you on the defensive. You got to relearn them. And then in the final match, that's where both of you have learned each other's strategies and got to feel for each other, got in each other's heads. And the person who can stay on point, who can be in the right headspace. There's also the headspace goes into that. Your mental fortitude, your attitude towards everything. Some people crack under pressure. And I understand some people don't want to be in those situations. I understand that. What I'm saying is that that shows you who you are as a player, and in some cases as a person too. And you can learn from that. I think that you can grow from that. And that's an example that somebody had gave me. When it comes to there was a few other examples that came up, and I'll have to come back and think about those. But I thought that one was one that stood out for me. That it was just, I think it's a terrible attitude to have if you're not rematching somebody because you have some kind of fear of toxicity. if nobody, if somebody's like just being overly toxic and you have no interest in doing that anymore and you want to just bounce out and bail, hey, I kind of understand that. You've already played a match with them. You don't really owe them anything, but it's something to take into consideration. If you're expecting that, again, negativity begets negativity, right? So that's just something to keep in mind. So moving forward here, my first question with this is, how can we encourage more 2 out of 3 situations? What are your guys' thoughts on that? We've talked about how it works in Street Fighter, and if you want to use that as an example, what are your thoughts on that? But in general, how would you guys say we can encourage more 2 out of 3s? And what's your overall opinion on the importance of rematching after a match in general? I'm going to start this one off with Rex.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, I guess from my perspective, we already kind of have something like that to some extent. And what I mean by that is, if you're in a brawl, if you're in a duel, you've got a best out of 3 match situation where you're going to have to win 3 matches. Someone's going to have to win 3 matches before we can move on, right? So we already have some of that to some extent. I'd be curious, Norgoz, to kind of hear more of what you're describing from Street Fighter. It's not a game I'm real familiar with, but ultimately, I would want to make sure that we keep the game open, because I mean it is kind of subjective, right? Like you said, I agree with what you're saying. Where you're coming from, I'm with you. I wish more people would try to do more of the two out of 3. I mean, while I'm certainly guilty of leaving after getting my face smashed in senselessly, I do try to usually stick around for a couple of rematches, because once again, there's an opportunity for me to learn something here. Why is it that I can't counter this particular move? What is it about this combo that's frustrating me? How can I get in this individual's head? I mean, that's kind of a challenge as an Aramusha main. Every duel is kind of like that to some extent.
Mm-hmm.
How can I get in this person's head?
There you
Because
go.
there's not a lot of options on the table for us Aramusha mains out there. So while I'm in favor of making sure the game remains free and open for people to do as they wish, obviously it's a game, it's there for enjoyment. And so if a lot of people don't enjoy getting their face beat in. A lot of people do not have the attitude of, hey, this is a challenge, I want to learn from it, and that's fine. I don't share that opinion with them, but if that's the way they want to play the game, then let's let them play the game with their own experience. I do think one thing that we can do to encourage it, and I see a lot of content creators do this regularly, and I think they do an excellent job of it, is to communicate with the other individual that you're fighting with, just to be kind of open to make a little bit of conversation, to be to some extent relational, to be open, to be kind. You know, if you can get a conversation going to some extent, a conversation with this, which is as much as possible on For Honor, of course, and of course
That's
that's
what
not
we're
really
here
an
for.
option on console. But on PC at least, where you've got a keyboard, and you can have a little bit of a conversation. I think that can help foster a continual fighting, because I know that's happened before where, I think it was, I can't remember his name, but a really good lawbringer. I think he's really highly ranked. It's not Fatal, but someone else, offered me a few pointers when I was dueling him, and so I stuck around. I fought with him longer because he was saying, hey, you're
Mm-hmm.
struggling with this. Here's how you can counter this. And he
Yeah,
was
like a
actually giving
coach.
me advice in the duel. Yeah, kind of like a coach. And it was totally opposite from someone who would just say, "Hey, GG easy, no re, I'm out of here." But that encouraged me to stick with it, and he was giving me pointers. So I think those of us who have a little bit more experience with the game, when we're fighting someone who's clearly newer, who is clearly struggling with a particular move, I understand not wanting to give away, your secret. Or what's making your move successful. But
But somebody somewhere's probably done that though. It's something. I'm
yeah,
sorry, I didn't mean to cut you. Like somebody somewhere's
no, you're
probably
fine.
done that. So it's something that people have to stop and take a step back and realize. You are not unique in terms of the only person that does what you do. There may be
Right,
few
exactly.
people that do what you do, but somebody somewhere's done this before probably, and somebody after you is going to do it again. And
Right.
if you're not fighting people because you don't want people to figure out your quote unquote unique fighting style, I think that's a bad look
I
too.
agree.
You're going to go through a Dominion game and somebody's going to figure you out.
Yeah,
Somebody's going to
of
figure you out.
course.
Somebody will figure out before you're done with 5 matches of a duel. I don't.
No, you're exactly right. I mean,
I'm sorry, I
that's
had to jump
that's
in
one
on
of
that
the
one.
things that No, you're exactly right. It's one of the things that I think makes For Honor a little bit on the special side is everyone's got a
Options.
little bit of a flow or a style, right? That they fall back on, especially when they're fighting someone that they don't fight a lot. So here's the deal: when someone picks up and learns on it, it forces you to get flexible. It forces you to mix it up. So I think you're exactly right. Being willing to share how to counter X, Y, or Z with people who are newer. One, I think that helps grow the player base, and two, I think it'll help people to enjoy the game a little bit better. So that would be that's kind of been my theme tonight, right? Is be relational with other people in the game. If you're trying to help them enjoy it, you're probably going to enjoy it a whole lot better as well.
So I want to touch back on something here. I might have done a bad job basing on some of the reactions that we have in our live chat here, and on Rex's reaction here. So I may have poorly worded the rematch example I gave from Street Fighter. You are not locked in when one person clicks rematch 2 out of 3. I don't remember what the option's called. It's basically like rematch 2 out of 3, something like that. It'll click, and then when somebody clicks it, it'll light up and say the other player wants to do this, and gives you the option of locking in and committing to a best 2 out of 3. Best 2 out of 3 matches. That's what it does. Some people were concerned I was talking about forcing that on the community. That is not what I am talking about in any way, shape, or form. I apologize. I did a poor job of explaining that.
No, that's my bad, man. That makes a lot more sense.
I didn't mean that. No, it's not your bad. You weren't like. Apparently, that was something. I'm glad you were concerned about it, and other people were concerned about it, because if somebody didn't say anything, this was going to go out to the world, and they're going to be like, "Wait a minute, the fuck is Norgoz talking about? I'm done. I'm done with this guy. Fuck this guy. This guy is ridiculous. Locking in, forcing me to fight the turtle law, bro. This is No, forcing me to fight the raider that I think is overpowered. Oh my god, no. Fuck Norgoz, and fuck his Warcry podcast. You know what? Fuck everything about the Norgoz. I'm gonna burn my Norgoz merchandise. I'm gonna destroy my Norgoz coffee cup. I am so done with this shit. I'm so done with his Norgoz toxic emotes. He is toxic. That's why I made the toxic emote. What an asshole. Norgoz
real fast though, on the real, you got a coffee mug? Because bro, you got to hook me up with that.
We'll have to talk.
Yeah,
we'll have to talk.
Man.
We'll
Can
talk.
I put Coors Light in it?
Fuck you. You had me. He had me the first half. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie. You know what we'll do? You can put some coffee in it. You can make it an Irish. How about that? You can do that, but you can't.
That sounds great.
Anyway, so going back for a moment, and I'm not here to bash anybody. We're not here to bash people who choose not to rematch. I'm sure everybody's got their reasons, but I want to encourage people to rematch. That's what I'm talking about, guys. And of course, Rex is apparently he's done with us. He's so done with us after that skit.
I just got to get another Coors Light. I'll be right back, man.
That's why, you know what? You should be ashamed of yourself. You should be ashamed of yourself for getting another Coors Light. I'm sorry, but I'm just kidding. All right, buddy, go do your thing. All right, so I want to encourage more 2 out of 3 situations. That's what I'm saying. That's what I would personally like to see more of in For Honor, and I'm sure a lot of people would. But mostly this goes in duels and brawls. In Dominion, it's not exactly the same scenario. I see a lot more rematches in Dominion than I ever see in duels and brawl mode. So that's where I am isolating the duel and brawl situation, because, again, like roughly 70%, definitely in duels. In brawls, it might be a little less. It might be like 60, 65 maybe, but not by much, not different by much. People seem to be more likely to re-up in brawls than they do in duels, because there's less pressure, right? If you lose, because many people will do a brawl match in a 1v1v1v1v1 situation, right? I may have done the math wrong on that, but you guys get the gist of what I'm getting at. And then there's less pressure on somebody to beat that person, because if they lose, they have their teammate to fall back on. But again, that's what I'm talking about when I say the rematch. You know, that's what I want to encourage, that rematch. Hopefully, after clarifying that mechanic or that option, you guys, better understand what I'm talking about, because I did a poor job of explaining it, and I apologize. And I've been talking way too long. Let's get back to Fatal and get your thoughts on this. How can we encourage more 2 out of 3 situations? What are your thoughts on rematches in general?
I mean, I suppose the question is more for us, right? I think Rex, I think he nailed on the head with everything he said.
Mhm.
Just try to encourage between two players. Just make sure everyone feels comfortable and engaged in this. Because duels is very personal, right? Duels is 1v1.
Very.
If you feel uncomfortable, if the person seems toxic, or you just don't enjoy how they play, then you're more unlikely to try to engage with them, right?
Mhm.
But I think since you bring up the whole it's only 70% of players don't really rematch in duels in For Honor. I think it's also it's important to put into perspective that how For Honor is designed and the kind of game we're playing compared to Street Fighter and Tekken and these other competitive games. I think it's important to understand that For Honor honestly doesn't do it very well. It's not very the UI and the, match by match moment isn't really as interesting as or intricate as other games. So you mentioned that there's no rematch button, right? That kind of comes up after the screen after you beat the game, right? After you beat a match, where opponent just wants to rematch, and you can just hit rematch, and you instantly start a next match, right? For Honor doesn't really have that, and so I think in many ways it's not so much the player's fault, but just how the game is designed doesn't really make players want to be as engaged with each other in 1v1s. It's a very slow game.
Mhm.
The menus are very slow. You have this whole, oh, gotta see faction war, oh, gotta get new gear,
Yeah,
seeing the new gear and stuff.
that's a
So
good one.
so it's very slow, and it's not as it doesn't get you as pumping, right? So I used to play another 3D fighting game called Naruto Ultimate Ninja Storm. I used to play those games religiously. It was really fun, very engaging. And when you do ranked in those games, you constantly want to just keep going to the next match, keep going to the next match. It's always fun. Um, and that rematch fun really helps it. That the fact that you can just that the opponent is just he beats the game, he beats you, he just presses start to quickly go to the option to say rematch, and then you're still seeing things. You're like, all right, I'll just hit that rematch button, bam, next match. For Honor needs stuff like that if it really wants to encourage rematch, because right now, the way the game plays, I think thankfully this season they fixed unlocks, but I know that for a lot of players, duels just isn't that fun because unlocks really suck. They really get bored of fighting players who just keeps running away,
Mhm.
and all sorts of things like that, like rolling and things like it's very slow. You have matchups that you just don't care for and things like that. So it's I think this is less on how we should what we should do, but more on what the developer should do. And I
Of
feel like
course.
very strongly that the
Right.
developer should look into to really fixing the cycle, fixing the game by game beat, the match by match moment, because at the moment it's just really slow. It's very casual. It's very long. Menus super slow, right? Choosing your hero, waiting for it to go into that screen, waiting for them to get into the battle poses, and then a match starts. You hear the say round one, etc., etc. It's not tight. It's not fast. It's not engaging like other fighting games. And I feel like that's really is one of the big crux of For Honor with duels right now.
I want to come back to what you were saying before about the menus, the basically the menu spam, and you're talking about the length of gameplay. That kind of the length to well, what I'm getting from that is length to gameplay does kind of wear you down because of the speed of it. The menus in between matches, and the what I find with that with the menus is ease of access. A game that does this very well is a game called Duck Game. It is an indie dev game and it is a 2D game that's sort of like it's kind of like Smash in a sense, but you just have random guns that spawn on the map, and you're all ducks, and you just run in, you get a gun real quick, you start shooting, you do your thing, and I think it's got I think it's got like a single player mode and stuff, but it's very quick. As soon as you die, boom, you immediately respawn at the very beginning of that like single player experience. Or same thing with the multiplayer. Unless you run out of lives, boom, like you're respawning. Everything happens fast, very quickly, swiftly, and that's what players want is ease of access to playing the game. Like with Hyper Duels, as an example, a game mode in For Honor, that was a perfect example of ease of access and continuous gameplay. That's something I think would encourage more duels. I loved it. A lot of people loved it. Hyper Duels was a great thing. I think the dev team had their heads in the right headspace when it came to Hyper Duels, looking at ways of making duels more consistent. taking away the extra time, the menus in between the games, you really, really want to encourage people to play more, right? And I think that that is something that in between, that is an opportunity that I think the development team could look into improving. We can't skip through some of the menus with like the loot that you were talking, like the loot. I've complained about it
Yes.
myself.
Oh
The
my gosh.
loot not being able to really be skipped unless you go through a couple of things. You got pop-ups happening for like new stuff you've never unlocked before or a new level or something. You can't skip through that. It's kind of got to go its own way. And then after you get through all that, then you can clear through all of that menu without having to look at everything. But you still have like the round 1, round 2, round 3s as well in between the duels, however long the duels last, which has a timer of 5 minutes. I know a lot of people don't pay attention to the duel timer itself, but they're timed at 5 minutes, so it can be up to 5, right? So it is something that I think that you really hit the nail on the head on when it comes to I see that as like ease of access. It sounded like you had
when
a
you look
follow up
at
on that. Go ahead.
if you look at a game like Smash, right? I'm pretty sure everyone in this chat, including ourselves, we know what the Smash music sounds like. We know what the character select sounds like. We know how fun it is to take that hand and click it on a character.
Yep.
And we know when we look at maps and like just the whole design is very snappy. It's very tight and it's very engaging. It's fun. It's fun to click things in that menu.
Dynamic.
It's very dynamic. For
Your
Honor,
favorite word.
it's very it feels very work in progress. For a lack of better description, it's very buggy. It's very slow. It's kind of clunky. They've tried to improve it, but it's still very clunky. It's unpleasing to look at. I don't think. I mean, they've tried to make it as the best they can, but it's not. When you look at For Honor, it still looks like a game in alpha in a sense with how it designs its UIs compared to other fighting games. You look at Tekken, you look at Street Fighter, you look at Smash. Like all these games know what clicks. They know how to make it feels fun to press through these menus and just skip things and just go for the restart of the match. For Honor just doesn't have that, and so many times I feel like I'm guilty of just like not caring for that rematch because I'm just like that duel was fun, but I'd rather play 4v4 because the long wait. It's more worth it when it's 8 players, right? When I have 8 players in queue, I can understand the long wait. But if it's just me and this other guy, I'm not gonna wait that 40 seconds for him to hit that rematch button. That's really boring. He doesn't like the most of the players I face. They don't hit that rematch button until like the last 5 seconds, and that's not engaging. And I'm sure that sometimes they miss the whole rematch, right? Because with the way For Honor designs it now, when you hit that rematch, there's no sound.
Mhm.
You can miss it. You don't even know if the opponent wanted that rematch.
Yep.
Like I have to go out of my way to like after I beat someone or after they beat me, I look at the map and if I see them they choose a new map, like say a specific map, that's when I can tell like, oh, this guy wants a rematch.
Mhm.
And that's not fun. That's not good. The game shouldn't have to I shouldn't have to go out of my way to know if this guy wants a rematch right away or not. So it's definitely something that the developers has to fix because like I can understand why players don't want a rematch. It's just long and it's clunky, it's not as fun, it's long winded.
Yeah, we need a
That's really myself.
Well, yeah, we need something. We need some satisfying stuff like that. So I want to come up with this. I want to throw an example out there. Then I want to hear from Ramen. You made me think of something that Mortal Kombat 11 does really well. And so Mortal Kombat 11 has fatalities. When you are done with the match, you have fatalities. For Honor essentially has fatalities in the form of executions. Here is what For Honor doesn't have that Mortal Kombat 11 has, and I'm not suggesting necessarily that they do this exactly, but it is a thought process that I had. Like, this is something Mortal Kombat 11 does that is fun, that encourages an instant rematch after the match is over. Instead of doing a fatality, you can do a certain button input, and I don't know what that button input is, and it's called Mercy. What Mercy does is brings you back from the dead at critical HP, and you both, I think you actually might take some health from the person. I think it might even out the health bars, but you're both like roughly around critical. You have a little bit more than what critical health is. I don't know the mechanic that well. Don't quote me that much on that, guys. I don't know the exact numbers. But I've seen it happen several times. It's called Mercy. So instead of killing them with an execution or a fatality, you bring them back to life and you immediately encourage that fight to continue. And of course, then you can have. So that also could be a way. That could be a way of doing two things. One, it could encourage people to be toxic. I know that's what some people's minds are at right now, so I'm going to go ahead and get that one out of the way. But if you look past that, if you look beyond that, that's a way of people encouraging more fun plays or more thoughtful plays, saying, you know what, hey, I saw you tried to parry that. I feel like you parried that. Let me bring you back. Let's roll that one back. Let's do that again. So I think that can encourage a lot of positivity in the community. Something like that could be cool. But like I said, I'm not suggesting that that happened. I'm just saying as a hypothetical scenario, that's how I would potentially see that playing out in the For Honor. So moving forward, though, I want to get some feedback from TopRamanShaman. And yes, Fatal. I wanted to come back. You said it's more for us, and you said it's more for something that the devs. Yeah. So when I say we, I do include the devs in that. I mean we as a community, as a whole, and of course, how can the development team do that? You know, what can we suggest that the development team could maybe consider doing, or what can they do? So yeah, I definitely do mean that too. So I apologize. You're right. I did poorly word that. So I appreciate you catching that. I appreciate you keeping me straight. So TopRamanShaman, what can we do? You know, what can we suggest, or what can the dev team work on this opportunity to encourage more 2 out of 3 situations, to keep the momentum flowing, to keep people happy?
It all
Playing.
boils down to incentive. I don't know how to say the person's name, so I don't want to butcher it, but SW something
Yep.
said something about giving extra steel to do rematches and perhaps winning that rematch. You know, it comes down to incentive for me. Right now, there's no incentive to rematch somebody
Mm-hmm.
unless it was like a really good game, and it harkens back to what we were talking about with rolling. There was no incentive to not roll, and as of right now, there's no incentive to not just leave and find a game, leave and go play scrims with a friend. And I'm glad I was on here for this topic, just because I do kind of come from the realm of leaving because of that toxicity mindset, just because of the fact that when I coming from somebody who plays a lot of duels and brawls, 90% of the time when I beat somebody and they hit like an instant rematch and I go for the rematch, that's when they were playing Warden, whatever, and then they all of a sudden they want to bust out Conquer. Now sure you could say, oh, that's their main, you know, they want to fight you with their main. I mean, it is what it is, but for the most part, we all know that with the character swap, a lot of people are going to start doing some cheesy tactics. Um, and that's personally a reason why I don't rematch that often, is because toxicity. You beat somebody and all of a sudden they have this ego. It goes straight back to what Fatal has said. Everybody in For Honor has this huge inflated ego that, oh, I'm
Mm-hmm.
the best fucking For Honor player in the entire world. You can't handle my warden. I'm the best warden. No, fuck you. Like, it's everybody thinks they're a god at For Honor.
Yep.
Everybody thinks they're the next esports, you know,
Legend.
360 montage warrior, and it is that's just not the case. So I tend to I didn't take rematches with a grain of salt, and kind of have the assumption that someone's going to be toxic unless we really had a fight, and I could tell it was a good fight, someone that was a more experienced player, somebody who wasn't a no name, so to speak. Then I'll do rematches. And then it also goes back to what Rex said, simply talking it out. Excuse me. There's been a lot of times
Mm-hmm.
where it's like I haven't wanted to rematch just in case if we're going to be toxic. But if you just simply type out like, "Hey GG, you want to go again?" or "Hey GG, that was, you know, a really good match," that'll kind of give that person a little more incentive to continue those good matches instead of going in a direction to just piss you off because you won the game and they don't like losing.
I'm glad that you brought up what was said in chat. I meant to bring that up myself. I thought it was a really good idea. I absolutely love it. So I'm glad you brought that up. I do want it to be said. We're talking about SW Noxiel. I'll take a stab at it. We have SW Noxiel, and stated something to the fact, like I said, like Top Ramen said, you know, steel and or XP bonus for rematches, or I think they also said or overall, just increasing it in general. But I think the incentive goes away if you increase the overall total. I think what you want to do is give the incentive for rematches by increasing the steel or XP gained. But I think the flaw in that, however, comes where people will snipe streamers or will snipe each other, so to speak, for like a better word. Friends will be like, all right, I'm queuing now, you're queuing now, and you just kind of go, right? You just go over and over and over again. There has to be a cap on that for sure. And
Yeah.
maybe you'll get double XP or steal for the rematch, for the next rematch or two or something like that. But there's going to be a cap on it, and I know that would probably be a nightmare to code in. I know that would probably be a nightmare to code in, but and I know I always say that almost every show I was like, that would be programming nightmare, blah blah blah, and programming really is probably a lot more difficult than a lot of people give credit to programmers, unless you have actually written code for a program, for a game, for something that is a little bit more complex than like a calculator that adds 1 and 2. Even then it's kind of, you know what I'm saying, like it's all ones and zeros basically. Not necessarily, I mean, there's different types of coding, but what I'm saying is that it's all very coding in a sense, in some ways, is very basic, but changing one thing from changing a 0 to a 1 in all binary code. In an all binary code, you have changing zeros, stop it, and changing the 0 to a 1, that could break the entire rest of the code.
And
that's
in game development, problem solving is far more important than having ideas. Yeah.
It's something, you gotta have solution. Yeah, exactly. I like that attitude too. It's about, you gotta come up with solutions. We're not about problems, we're about solutions. And that's that's kind of like the attitude that I like to have when it comes to the podcast. I'm asking questions because people have concerns and people have thoughts and opinions about certain parts of the game. And part of the podcast is to bring us together as a community to come up with solutions, and have those solutions heard, or at least you feel that they are being discussed, and we're having a meaningful discussion on those community driven topics. That's something that legitimizes and brings more to the table, I think, than just saying, okay, well, we've got issues with this, we've got issues with that, or saying something, by yourself or whatever. As a whole, as a group, as a community, when we come together, it changes the way that those opinions and those thought processes are seen. One voice among, a sea of millions doesn't mean anything. When you have a group of people that come together and we say, okay, well, we're going to look at this objectively, and we say, okay, well, there's X, Y, and Z options, but there's also a problem with that. Here's the option of, here's a potential solution for that, and so on and so forth. When we have all of these things on the table, we lay this on the table, I guarantee you the development team is going to pay more attention to that than somebody saying, oh, Raiders OP, delete Raider. Maybe you should delete your account and then think about how to play the game better before thinking that the Raiders that OP. Because I've said it time and time again, yeah, that's a little tough love. Because Raider needs stunning tab, or he's just going to stare at you the entire match. I say this every fucking show. And it's because that opinion never goes away. And until it goes away, I'm going to say it every show. You can dodge it, you can block it, you can react to it in multiple ways. All right. Moving forward. So we've got a lot of we talked a lot here today about several different things. And if you're just now joining us, we're a little over 2 hours in. I'm your host, Norgoz, of the Weekly Warcry podcast, every Friday at 7 p.m. Pacific. I am joined today by TopRamanShaman, Fatal-Feit, and K-Rolus Rex. Awesome individuals. Thank you guys so much for joining us. And of course, to our audience, those of you that are watching live and those of you that are listening or watching on YouTube or wherever else this ends up, thank you guys so much for joining us. I really appreciate the support and the love. I feel like I felt the need that I needed to say this at least once tonight. If there's anybody that happens to be restreaming this live right now while we're live, please keep in mind that there's a lot of work that goes into the show behind the scenes, and you really do degrade that and take away from that if you're restreaming it, and you don't have permission from myself or my guests to do that. So we would greatly appreciate it if you happen to be doing that live while we're restreaming it while we're live. Please cut that out. It would be greatly appreciated. We don't want to have to come to your stream and say mean things about you, because that's just not nice, and we want to be nice. I'm just kidding. So all right, so moving forward, all joking aside, we've talked a lot about our three main topics have been becoming unbreakable, arming yourself against aggression and toxicity, unlocked attacks, and GG no re. Why is there no best 2 out of 3? And we've talked a lot about that in depth. We talked about becoming unbreakable and how toxicity is something that really comes down to the individual person and how they deal with it. And there's many different ways of dealing with it. You can, you can let it get to you. You cannot, in the most simplest of terms. You want to make sure that you don't encourage that behavior to continue if that's something that you don't want to be a part of. And of course, on unlocked attacks, we had a good discussion about how, what's your favorite unlocked attack? Do you consider them to be an exploit? Are they healthy? Are they unhealthy? Why are they good for the game? Because they provide options. And options are something that makes the game fun. And that's something that we have to be able to deal with. If there's something that you literally you have no reaction to, that's when we kind of maybe look at that as a potential something that needs to be potentially fixed. And I say we, and I use that word very loosely here because when I say we, I typically mean we as a community. We as a community, and of course, I do also typically what I mean is I do include the dev team with that because we as the community, what can we suggest? What can we discuss to bring to the table as potential solutions to the development team? And or what can they do? What powers do they hold? What can they do to fix certain things that may be problematic? And it's always good to make sure that we are providing, we're presenting everything on a solid front, right? And we don't have to be on the same page. That's why I look for people that have objective ways of thinking. So I was going to I'm we normally excuse me. This night we're probably not going to do audience questions. I expect that this show is going to run a little long. I expect this show is going to run a little longer than usual. We may actually normalize and standardize this show as a 3-hour show going forward. I see there's a lot of content we're going to be talking about going forward in the future. A lot of things have changed. A lot of things have been happening in the For Honor world. A lot of stuff happened with that big patch that happened recently. And I just wanted to say that it's really important to keep all those things in perspective, right? When we're talking about different topics and new things that happen. Jormungandr is the name of the new hero. The Hamar is the name of his weapon, or her weapon. Hulda, and whatever the hell that guy is, he's a Jarl. He is a
Gretar?
chieftain.
Is it Gretar or something like that?
Yes. Grethar. Was it Grethr? I think that's it.
I think something like that, yeah.
And he is a Jarl, as I understand it, which is basically a lord of or a chieftain of it's not a tribe, but a clan of Vikings, which is pretty awesome. So, after getting your hands on to the heroes, guys, and I presume Gritar, I presume that we've all had that opportunity to see TopRamanShaman coming back to the PC in the most sensual way. he just got back and sat down and put his headset on. He has no idea what we just said.
What I missed?
Oh, you
So like
missed
I'm being roasted
everything.
right now.
Yo, what it do, baby boo? How you feel?
What it do, baby? How you doing? I'm doing good, huh?
Hey, forget about it. Hey.
Forget about it, man. I love
right.
you.
Ramen, my man. We're talking about God. What the hell was I talking? Oh, the Hamar. I presume that everybody's had a chance to play this, and or play against it. So I want to get everybody's feedback on that. Initial thoughts on the Hammer Hero, every once in a while my tongue gets tied, and I apologize for that. That's not professional. I'm a douchebag. I don't know how to speak words. Okay, Jormungandr. I can't just. It's so good. Just Jormungandr. I could just do ASMR of that all day. Jormungandr.
It feels powerful, right? It makes you feel powerful.
It feels powerful,
if there's
exactly.
an offer to extend Beard Azamar, and you saying Jormungandr over and over again, dude, like hit me up, man. I'll bring a Coors Light, and dude, we can chill, brother. that'd be a party right there.
You know what? You're gonna have to bring like a 6-pack, and I'm gonna have to chug the 6-pack before it starts to taste good. So, you know, we're gonna have to figure that out. Anyway, so
We'll
no,
find a way.
the Jormungandr. I'm gonna start this off because yesterday, like I said at the beginning of the show, if you didn't see it, at the beginning of the show, I was talking about how yesterday I was actually, you know, I was worn out at the end of the day. I was frustrated about some things already. I was sick. I'm still sick. And I was just not in a very good headspace. And I wanted to start streaming early because I wanted to play the Jormungandr. And I'd already been watching a few different people. I watched some Kitties, some Daddy Law, Mr. Kyle. I think, I watched a few minutes of Silver. And by watch, I mean listen to, because I drive a truck at work, and that's clearly illegal if I watched it. So I don't watch it, I listen to it. If I'm stopped, I'll take a minute to maybe watch a little bit of gameplay. But just kind of listening. I mean, there was a lot of loud noises. And a lot more loud noises. I mean, there was a lot of loud noises, okay? There's already memes about the loud noises that the the Jormungandr, all the yelling and screaming and stuff. But what it comes down to is the Jormungandr, my very initial impressions, and this is based on yesterday, I was actually really, really disappointed. I was very, very underwhelmed. And I think part of that was the headspace that I was in. I was already kind of in a bad mood, unfortunately, and for like the first couple hours, I struggled to smile. I was struggling to smile, right? So there are some concerns I still have now, but overall, my initial impressions were that I was disappointed. The kit was very simple. There were some issues. There was some clunky stuff. And looking back on it now, I still had a lot of fun with that hero in 4v4s. In duels and brawls, wasn't really all that fun. In a brawl match where you're like real brawls, that's when it could potentially be fun and potentially be a devastating combo with something like a Tiandi or a Centurion. If you can actually land those attacks, that'll knock them on the ground, get some good punishes out of it, which are very, very satisfying. The stun on the Jormungandrs, that punish, that out of stamina punish on the, or even on the ground. Anytime they're on the ground, you get the punish. 50 damage. It basically stuns your opponent. You get your stamina back. They get their stamina back. And I don't know how long it is, but I would say it's probably a good 1,500 milliseconds. I know Freeze did a video on this. I don't remember if he said what the wake-up time was after the stun. I don't remember what that was offhand. If you guys remember, I'll let you guys talk to that. But it's a very, very, very long time. And yes, there's some damage reduction on those hits following it, but I mean, you get a couple of Jormungandrs that go to punish you, you're pretty dead, right? I mean, it's gonna hit hard, it's gonna hurt. But and that's very satisfying to get that punish. They are a stamina bully. Jormungandr is a stamina bully, but the stamina drain is not too much, I feel like. And you basically can punch after every light or every heavy. You can do a punch after a parry. You can do a variation of the punch, I think, on a guard break. And so there's a lot of options you have into punching, but the punch is not too much. I feel like it does take a lot, but it's not too much because there's a very simple kit. There's hyper armor on the initial opener heavy, and that's where I think there's a solution I could offer. There's three things I think that the Jormungandr does not do well. That is, he doesn't have very good range on his unlocked attacks or his his attacks in general. Like if somebody like dodges away from you, you don't have a lot of range with the hammer. It doesn't, or you could say it doesn't track very well. It's less a tracking problem and more a range problem. I feel like he's got a long shaft on the hammer. Stop it. He's got a long shaft on the hammer. And I think it's longer than what the axe handles are for the Berserker, and the Berserker actually has a pretty good range himself for having T-Rex arms. But you want a character with T-Rex arms? You thought Hitokiri was short? Let's go with Jormungandr. Jormungandr has some super T-Rex arms. There's very little tracking. There's very little range on it. That's something that could be improved. I think the hyper armor activating a little bit quicker on the opener heavies, I think, would be better because it's hard to trade with that. You're basically forced into doing... It feels like you're forced into doing lights, or you're pressured into doing more lights. And the lights, because they're 500 MS, you're going to get parried on those more often than not. I got parried a lot with the Jormungandr. Yeah. But you do have enhanced lights. You've got the trackable lights in the follow-up. You can throw in the punch in there at some point. So you can kind of mix people up. But it's almost a 50-50, almost a 50-50 with Jormungandr, and it's very telegraphed if you go with certain attacks. And with the hyper armor not going in very fast, the opener heavy, I think it weakens him in the sense of being able to actually trade with opponents. So I think speeding that up, activating it a little bit sooner, maybe 100 ms. I don't really know what time would be good, but still being GB vulnerable, of course, still being GB vulnerable up to a point. I think that would help with trades. It's really satisfying to knock people on the ground with unblockable heavies when they're out of stamina. That's really good. Also, it's fun to knock people out of ring with that as well. But the thing you can't do is you can't punch somebody and knock them off the side of a ledge. That's something I think that should ledge. So let me back up. I'm talking a little too much at once. I'm giving you guys too much information. This is something I try to tell my guests in Discord. You're giving us too much at once. So let me take a step back. Let me take my own criticism here. I'm going to critique myself. Overall, I find that you can have a lot of fun with the Jormungandr if you have a team that can work with you. And if you have somebody who, and especially if you're up against somebody who can't deal with the punches or can't anticipate what you're doing. Jormungandr's kit, because it is simple, forces you to do a lot of things that are not necessarily unpredictable. Yes, unpredictable, but are trying to think of the words I'm looking for. Not unnatural, I guess. Like taking a step back, thinking outside the box, like taking a step back with a light or a heavy to get your chains going or to get a punch in. Those types of things is what I think that the kit actually encourages right now, because it's kind of straightforward and as simple as it is, so to speak. But there is a lot of fun to be had. I would definitely recommend you give it a shot. I'm going to start off with Fatal on this. What are your thoughts, your initial impressions of the Jormungandr?
So the other week, that was definitely my initial thoughts as well. It's a very underwhelming character for me. I think there's a lot of hard stoppers. There's a description for this character, which is unrelentless attacks, and I feel like that does not describe this character at all.
Mm-hmm.
Too many hard stoppers, 2 chains, they don't flow together. I mean, in a way, I like the idea of undodgeable lights. Like, that's a really cool concept for chain finisher. And since they got a bash during chains, like that really gels together. But I feel like that's the only that might be the only element of that character that actually gels together in a satisfying way for me. I think, I said before in 4v4, this is not a very good character. I think there's some fun you can have with synergizing.
Mm-hmm.
Again, like with the T-Andy, does the T-Andy's kick, goes into the Jormungandr's hammer slam. Like, that's really fun. That's really cool. But the hitbox, the health, it's only 130, I believe. The hitbox is not very good, as you're saying. T-Rex arms, not really a lot of pressure in 1v1. So it's not a character that can really turtle. It's not a character that can really gank either. It's not a character that can really clear minions very efficiently either. So there's not really a lot of roles for this hero. And this hero can barely 1v1 at a competitive level. I'm sure right now people are having difficulties. People might be saying it's a little strong or a little oppressive, and that's understandable because it's very new, fresh kit. Animations aren't in your head yet, but I think once players start really adapting to this hero, start understanding how it flows, when the unblockables will happen, when they need to be defensive or offensive, it's gonna start to become very, very underwhelming, because I don't think there's a lot of options. I think you were saying that as well. This hero doesn't have a lot of options. And even when you look at their feats, it's not very good. Like, the tier 1 makes sense. I like the idea and concept, but you're not gonna land a lot of those bashes, right? So because of that, the tier 1 isn't as great as you want it to be. At the tier 2, again, you're not really going to land a lot of those hammer slams on decent players, so that's not going to happen too often. And was it tier 3 is the throw? The tier 3 is actually quite good. I think
that's really short. The range on it is so short.
But when you hit it, like, it's I do like the synergy that you get from the tier 3, where they're behind, you throw it at them, they hit a wall, that guarantees your bash, right? So there's a synergy there. So essentially you could use that tier 3 to create a hammer attack. In fact, I will argue that the tier 3 is better than tier 4 because the tier 4 is really bad in my opinion.
Yeah, I would agree.
It's very slow. I know, and I
So
initially had that
slow.
thought process. I was thinking about that today. It's very, very, very slow. Ragnarok is very slow. But think about it though. If you think about it as a 4th tier feat, and you compare it with other 4th tier feats, what does it have in common with other 4th tier feats, like a fire flask or spear storm and things like that? They take a lot of time. They have a big wind up, which is what Ragnarok has. It has a big wind up. So those 4th feats should be very powerful, and they should have a little bit of a wind up. So I
don't. It's not so much the wind up; it's the reward. If you so you mentioned Fire Flask. You look at Fire Flask. That's gonna kill players, right? That's like 60 damage on every player who's in it. You look at Ragnarok. That's maybe plus 50 damage to someone who just happens to be in it, but you have to choose the player.
Yeah, you gotta
So-
choose.
Exactly.
See,
Yeah.
I thought that that's what I thought. You were gonna be able to actually go and hit another one, but that stun that hits the other player when you do that, the hammer slam on the ground, you basically effectively are stunned as well. You have this basically the same amount of recovery time in a way, because you're locked in just as much as they are from the wake up. So I'm right there with you on that. When it comes to that, so I now understand where you're coming from with the 4th feat. So right now, so far myself and Fatal are kind of in the same kind of headspace. One thing I wanted to throw out there too, I think that we could even look at I compare Jormungandr with Hitokiri a lot, and the reason being is that Hitokiri also has a bash, so to speak. She's got the kick in the middle of her combos, and so you have the kick. You have 3 options with kick, right? You can feint it, you can let it go, or you can hold it and you can go into a sweep. So you've got 3 options with that, whereas Jormungandr has 1. You commit to punching or you don't. Now you do have a neutral punch, but that doesn't have as much of a stamina pressure as the comboed punch. It's basically, the way I see it, is basically if you have somebody out of stamina and you just want to just grab them real quick, you can throw that out there, see if you get on it where you can get the 50 damage punish off of it. But punch does give a lot of revenge to other players. Their heavies are 800 milliseconds, and that's why I was saying earlier, I don't think I said that. 800 millisecond heavies in the chain, you have that's a long time. And if hyper armor is not being activated very, very quickly on that first opener, I don't think you really have an opener. You're basically using it to kind of hoping no one's going to guard break you or bash you or light you out of that before the hyper armor starts up. You can take a step back, that's what I was talking about, like the kind of like the out of the box kind of thinking. But and I like that. I do. Well, let me take a step back. What I mean when I say I like that is I like that you have a situation where you have to think outside the box, but it's not something that I would want to have as a go-to. I don't feel like a character should have to absolutely do that to be completely effective. But
Right.
anyhow, any more to add before I move on, Fatal?
Yeah, like even the idea, the concept of this hero was better put in other heroes. I think as a stamina punish hero, I do a much better job on pressuring someone on stamina with Conqueror, a Vortiger, or even my Lawbringer. That I feel like I do a much better job of lowering someone's stamina and pressuring their stamina with these heroes. And when you look at this hero, how his concept is big damage on someone who's out of stam, big pressure, big stamina, and pressure there. It's a Conqueror is much better at it. We have heroes who still does what this hero is trying to do, but better. I like to say that the Rework Raider pre stamina nerf was so much better. Was basically this hero in concept. He did the stamina damage. He did the stamina punishes much higher than just 50 damage. So it really, like, this hero just its entire kit just feels like cool ideas, but just executed very underwhelmingly.
Okay, and I see where you're coming from with that. I think that what you just said is I wouldn't say a majority, but a lot of people I think are in the same headspace with that. Great concept, and I do love what the devs are doing. I love their headspace. I love that they're trying new things. I absolutely love that. I think the execution there's a couple things that could have been done better. And I think what I said yesterday was on stream. I was very very disappointed. I made no qualm about that. But I think he's not as bad as I originally thought. I think that I can improve myself and get better. But it is something that you're going to have a higher. You're going to have to be a much higher skilled player going up against somebody else to be very, consistently efficient and effective with this hero right now as it stands. Whereas there are others that have, somewhat, more effective kits. Like we've compared this to, to other stamina bullies, if you will, or other versions of stamina bullies. And I think what you just said, Fatal, reminded me that if this hero had a really, really high damage punish on that out of stamina, or or in general, some way to flow into that maybe a little bit better, or just overall just more damage, more confirmed damage. I think maybe that could make it a little bit more satisfying, because I think that's what the development team was going for. They want a stamina bully. They want, like, they were saying they want a stamina bully. They want the him to get out of stamina punishes, and I think that it was I think it's a great concept. I genuinely do. I genuinely do believe that. I think it's a great concept. The hero looks great. The lore is fantastic. The kit is not completely terrible. It's not. It's not completely terrible. There are good things there in the kit, absolutely. There's just some small tweaks here and there, I think, to kind of enhance what he already has, to make him a little bit more dynamic, to give him more options, to give you guys some keywords that I think are some takeaways from that. So, all right, so we Fatal and I have kind of owned this floor for like the last, half hour or so. I'm gonna give you guys some time. Ramen, what are your thoughts? And then I'll catch up with you, Rex.
Uh, Unfortunately, bro, it's pretty lackluster in my opinion. I thought I went into it optimistic. Obviously, I come from Shigoki, who's I guess you could say a stamina bully was much more of a stamina bully back in the day, but
Hmm.
a shell of a stamina bully. So I came in pretty excited for the new character. I was personally hoping for something a little more heavy, something that had a little more oomph to it. Don't get me wrong, the moves still have a nice feel to them, but I'm sure I'm not alone in the fact that a lot of people just wanted a giant hulking beast of a character that was just
Yep.
ready to rip you limb
Yep.
from limb.
Yep.
So in terms of design, it's cool. Don't get me wrong, it's not what I expected. It's cool, but I'm a little disappointed. And then in terms of gameplay, it is lackluster as well. I know exactly what you guys mean about the fact that she has the fundamentals to be a really good character, and I think in the future with some tweaking, um, maybe speeding up a few moves or making a few moves safer. Similar to Bash, like I noticed myself getting punished on Bash a lot, and I've always kind of had this confusion where it's like if there's similar things in the game, what makes this move different? Like for example, Shigoki's headbutt. Unless you're doing some crazy, reaction pre-dodge bullshit to get a grab off of it, for
Ooh.
the most part, it's pretty safe to throw a Shugo headbutt.
Sure.
As long as you don't follow it up with anything, you won't get grabbed out of it. So I don't know. I don't really understand why they would release a character that would throw something similar to a headbutt, but then get so punished out of it for something that's supposed to revolve around that character's style of play. So the character's okay. I know over time the character will get better. What exactly they can
Yeah.
do to make him better, I'm not entirely sure, to be honest. I don't really work with a lot of dev type stuff or have a lot of knowledge when it comes to adding certain things to characters, or what would make him overpowered or what would make him underpowered.
Well, I've got some.
But
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, to really just to wrap it up. I think as well we just have to give it time. Right now we're playing
Mm-hmm.
4v4s with basically nothing but 4-on-4,
Right.
Jormungandr. So it's not that fun, to be honest. It's just a lot of feeding bashes, with other bashes. Nobody's really coordinating team play. I think, to be honest, if someone, if like a pro player, shout out to all the pro players, if one of y'all want to pick up Jormungandr and play some scrims, bro, I think Jormungandr could be a beast in some real twos, just off the fact that I view her more as a support character, similar to the way Goki is now. So when people play fours or play twos and they have different team comps, that's when I think Jormungandr is actually really going to shine. When the devs can work on the character and you can show off her kit.
Okay. Well, yeah, I think that that's a really good point to bring up as well. Is that keep in mind these are initial impressions. It's been out for roughly 36 hours at this point. Not even quite that much. Not even quite that much. We'll say 36. It's day and a half roughly, and so it's been out for a very limited amount of time. There's been a lot of gameplay from a lot of people, a lot of players, and I think it is something that we there is going to be some wait and see on it. But I mean, we have a pretty good feel for it now. And I wanted to add, I think that, like I said, there's some tweaks here and there I think it needs, and I think it'll be fantastic. So I really think that it's something I think Ubi needs to make a priority on this one, because I know a lot of people. This brought in a lot of new players. So this hero, an insane amount of new players. It also did help that right now you can get For Honor Standard Edition full game for free on the Epic Store. That's right, guys. If you are new to the game, if you don't already have the game, if you want to get it on another platform for free, if you just want to help the stats of the game, go ahead and do that. Go ahead and get that downloaded for free on Epic Game Store. You get to keep that for free, forever. Forever, guys. So it is something that if you have your friends that you want to invite your friends, but they've never been able to get it because reasons, get them to go to the Epic Game Store. You all play on the same servers. You all got to log into Uplay. You all got to play the game on the same servers, use the same interface once you get logged in or whatever. You're still going to be playing through Uplay service. You're still going to utilize Uplay service to add friends and add people to games, all that good stuff. It's just basically through the Epic Game Store, and that's probably where you're going to launch it from. That's the main difference, and that's it. Just like you have the Steam version, it's the same thing through Uplay. I know there's a few people that may not have known, that may not know that, but you're all in the same thing, except for console. I know, guys. I know there's not crossplay. We're aware. And I think it's also, wait, no, it's just the PC version, right? Yeah. Believe so. So, okay, I do have a couple things that I can add for potential additions to the Jormungandr, but I want to first hear from Rex on your initial thoughts, your initial experiences, and opinions on the Jormungandr.
Yeah, so with the Jormungandr, I'm kind of in line with what you guys have already said and what's already been pointed out. I was excited for the hero, and I played the hero pretty extensively yesterday. And I found it to be kind of underwhelming. I think the first thing I noticed is like TopRamanShaman was saying, is you have in fours right now, you've got nothing but these 4 Jormungandrs going up against 4 Jormungandrs, and I really think first and foremost that's a terrible team comp, because it just that really doesn't stack well together at all. That is a terrible idea. Don't do that. That's bad. So I do think Jormungandr can be fun. I was watching Mystical, and Mystical yesterday in his stream was basically, he wasn't even playing Jormungandr. He was trying to determine, what are some effective team comps, like what works well with the Jormungandr.
We talked about that a lot last week as well. The freaking the feats with the out-of-state. Yeah, that's freaking awesome.
Sure, no, exactly. Like Conk, it could be really annoying to face a Conk in the Jormungandr where the Conk is unlocking and doing his charging bash, knocking you down, and you're eating that 50 damage punish. And I didn't try it, and I'll probably try it over the weekend. But one of the things because I was just playing Jormungandr yesterday, but one of the things I want to try is, and this is something I don't like, is when you're facing like multiple Jormungandrs, I mean, the revenge build is just insane. And if I hadn't been playing Jormungandr, I might have been able to effectively anti-gank like a lot. Like if I'd been playing Aramusha, I probably could have really, really punished these 4 stacks of Jormungandr. So I don't know. I think the concept is cool. I like the idea of a stamina draining hero. But the other thing that kind of gets to me is the moves that Jormungandr has. So like both heavies and lights. One things I found immediately as I was trying to learn, okay, how do I counter this hero? The parries are really, really easy. And if they're just throwing attacks nonstop, it can be really easy to stack light parries and heavy parries and get a lot of damage off of that. So I don't know. I think there needs to be some tweaks. I think the hero can still be salvaged, but overall, I would say that out of like the Year of the Harbinger, this hero had the most hype, I think, from the start, from the launch of that initial picture. Everyone's eyes was on that hammer, man. Everyone was looking at the hammer. And I feel like this has been the biggest disappointment out of all three of them so far. But, I don't want to rush to judgment too quickly. There's still, I think, a lot can be done. Tweaks can be made. I know, Norgoz, you're probably going to get into some of the suggestions, but maybe you make the chain finisher light just a little bit quicker. I think that might be able to help it out quite a bit, because I really think that, the chain light having the undodgeable quality, if you sped it up a little bit, you could really punish people who are going to dodge upon reaction after the first attack. So I don't know. I think things can still be done with it, but overall, I actually find the hero somewhat boring to play. But there are those moments when it can be fun, like getting the 50 damage punish. That is a really enjoyable thing. What is not an enjoyable thing is getting knocked down and watching 4 Jormungandrs come right at you with that hammer slam. That is the stuff from nightmares right there. That is a terrifying reality to be in. And I was there several times yesterday.
And what happens is they're all smashing your nuts. That's pretty much what Jormungandr wants your nuts. That's pretty much what it is. Jormungandr wants your nuts. They want to knock you on the ground and smash your nuts. However that happens, out of stamina, through conch bashes, through centurion stabs, however that works, they want your nuts. Okay?
Yep.
Your nuts. Nuts.
Yep.
Read it
and
in.
Let's be
for
real
nuts.
for a moment too. If I could just add something else onto that, Norgoz, the voice acting for Gretar, come on, the screams are unbelievable. Like if I had to make a guess, I would say that Gretar got his nuts smashed pretty hard on the basis.
Christ.
Let's be real. Holda has a much deeper voice than Gretar does. I am not a fan, because you're in a match with a bunch of the male versions of the Jormungandr, and it's just like a shrieking affair. That is like the most annoying aspect of the hero launch in my mind. It's just the shrieks are killing me.
Well, I wasn't expecting that. All right, guys, show's over. We're going off the air permanently because the devs are no longer. The devs are gonna DMCA this channel now. Thanks, appreciate. I'm just kidding. But no, I think that I understand. I'm not gonna comment much on the voice acting. I'm not really gonna touch on that. I know everybody's gonna have their opinion on that. I know that there's a lot of loud noises that's going on. There's a lot of memeing that's been going on with that. It is what it is. I think that I think that the yelling fits. I think the yelling does fit.
I'm more impressed.
There is definitely some. There is. You know what? I'm as a voice actor, I am impressed a little bit, because you got to think, how many takes did they go through to get that exact yell? Because trust me, it's going behind the scenes of voice acting. It's a complicated thing. Like, you're yelling, you're literally yelling. You're not like, you're that's what you're doing, okay? You're literally yelling. If you don't yell, you don't get the character's part. You just can't handle it. You know what I'm saying? There is a difference. Right. So hopefully my compressor worked. Huh?
Could I get one more of those?
That was actually not as good. I somehow I unintentionally
psyched him out.
I didn't project as much. It's so my neighbors are probably gonna get me kicked out now. But back when I used to play Five Nights at Freddy's, I would scream, and I would scream like a little schoolgirl, and that's insulting to a schoolgirl. It's definitely it was terrible. I'm not afraid of anything. I literally fear like nothing, but I startle very easily. It doesn't take much to startle me. Okay, those little jump scares are. Anyway, so that like yeah, I may be borderline getting kicked out tomorrow. You never know. I'm just kidding. But all seriousness, here's my suggestions. Here's my thoughts. I know that they didn't have and didn't suggest variable timing heavies for the hero, but after seeing a little bit of the the gameplay and the overview on the Warriors Den, I actually expected, and it's also because of Hitokiri probably as well. I expected that his unblockables were going to have variable timing heavies.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I was expecting. So I thought to myself, maybe, maybe if we had variable timing heavies on like the unblockable or something like that, or a variable timing punch, because that goes in line with the Shugo comparison that Ramen was making. If they've got a variable timing headbutt, right? So that could be, a charged up punch, or you could maybe even do a charge up punch and cancel it into like a guard break or something. And then you get your punch from guard break. You just don't get as much of a stamina drain or something on that. I can tell you one thing I love about the hero is that I absolutely love, this is something I didn't know right away, okay? It took me some time to learn. The dashing heavy, one, it has hyper armor. Love that. And it should. Two, it's highly telegraphed. So, I don't know if that was intentional or not, but when I tell you what I'm about to tell you, you might think it was. With the Jormungandr, it's highly telegraphed, the forward dash heavy, but you can soft feint that into a guard break.
Mhm.
You can soft feint the forward dash heavy into a guard break, and I fucking love that.
Yeah.
Of course, you guys know I am biased for soft feints. I'm very biased for soft feints, and it's probably mostly because I play with a controller, but I love that kind of stuff. I thought that was very, very good, because that is one thing that's one of the, I guess, openers, if you will, for the Jormungandr, is that you want to try and bait a reaction, a dodge, or a heavy to parry it, because I think it's supposed to be 500 milliseconds, but it is extremely highly telegraphed. It is very easy to tell when it's happening. I love the animation of when he does the back dodge roll. He just looks like a little snaky motherfucker, which is kind of like what the Jormungandr is. It's a snake, right? He looks kind of like a little snaky motherfucker. He like gets down, he's all flat, does a little flip back or whatever. It looks cool. It just looks very very liquid like. Like cats are liquid. Jormungandr is liquid. It's kind of ridiculous how interesting that I find it. It is actually very, very fun. Anyway, okay, so with all that in mind, so initial opinions on Jormungandr is it seems like there needs to be some things that are going to be tweaked or changed, and hopefully that's something we'll see in the mid-season patch. I will expect it unless I'm told otherwise. Maybe I'm setting the bar high. No, not really setting the bar high, but setting that expectation. Not trying to put any pressure, but what I am saying is that I love this hero in the sense of I love the lore, I love the look, I love a lot of the animations. Like when you choke up on I typed this in chat. When you choke up on the axe, sorry, the hammer, that's your light. You choke up on the handle and then you punch them in the face with the hammer. That is fucking cool. It feels satisfying to land that light. And that's the experience I think the development team was going for. You want to get that satisfaction of getting them on the ground, getting that punish. You want to get the satisfaction of punching them in the face. It's not always all about just getting the punishes and all these other things. You want the overall feel of the hero to feel really good. And I think they did a lot of good things when it comes to the animations, some of the movesets in terms of what they look like and what they were really going for. I just think that the mark was missed a little bit. And there's a little bitty tweaks that we've kind of talked about so far that could maybe improve it. Like I said, maybe even something like a third attack in the chain or something. I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure offhand. Can you actually help me out? Help me remind me of this, guys. Can you actually do a punch after your 2-hit combo? Is that actually
No.
possible?
No.
Okay, I
No.
didn't think so. Okay, I didn't think so. I'm glad that we confirmed that. So maybe add that back. Maybe add that into where that's your third hit in the combo. Maybe you can throw another, throw like that last punch or something. Because after the punch doesn't confirm anything. Correct me if I'm wrong. Punch confirms nothing.
No, considering the fact that a punch confirms nothing, he's supposed to be a stamina pressure hero. I feel like the punch should fit a lot more in the kit. Use it to cancel recoveries. Use it to start chains, things
Ooh.
like that. It would be great.
Canceling recoveries, I like that one. That's something we don't really see with a ton of heroes, but it's something that is an option with a lot more heroes than I think people take advantage of. I remember, like Berserker's a perfect example of that. You were able to dodge out of a lot of you're still able to dodge out of some shit. But it's that's a really good concept. I think that I would like to see more of that in the game. You know, doing other attacks or dodges or something. Like you see a lot of that with what do you call it in Street Fighter? Cancels, effectively. I think you just call them cancels, effectively. Like you can cancel your recovery animation through doing certain attacks on there too. And that's the and ever since I knew that that was a thing, I'm like, dude, I love that. And once I saw that happening in For Honor, I was like, oh, I love this. I very much like that, and it's something that takes a whole nother level of mind games and skill to utilize properly. So, all right. So, final thoughts on Jormungandr. Anything else you guys would like to add? I think we've hammered, if you'll forgive the pun, we've hammered down a lot of discussions, and we've gotten pretty in depth and pretty blunt with this hero. What do you got?
Yeah,
Any final thoughts you guys would like to add?
I mean, he's definitely worth a try. I mean, I just want to clarify. You know, I wasn't trying to talk
Absolutely.
crap on the hero at all. I had fun yesterday playing Jormungandr. I will
Yes.
continue to play Jormungandr. It's an enjoyable hero. It's just I guess if there was be a catchphrase for it, didn't quite live up to the hype. But to be fair, the hype was pretty big.
The hype was fucking huge, and yeah, the hype was fucking huge. And I don't even know if they could have lived up to it if they had done
That's a good
something
point.
else, you know, because the hype was, I mean, the hype was real. This was the hero of the year. And I know for
Yes,
me,
it was.
that was the one I've been looking forward to Jormungandr all year.
Yep.
That was it. That
Same.
one. And the other, the Wulin also hasn't, no. The Hitokiri's the one with an axe, right?
Yeah.
Is there another
Yeah.
axe? What's the last
No,
one?
it's a Dao. It's the Chinese Dao, like kind of like the equivalent to like a medieval longsword.
Okay.
It's a heavy, right?
It's a heavy.
They're
yeah,
all going to be
absolutely.
heavies. So we have Black Prior. Yeah, that's, if you compare Jormungandr to Black Prior and Hitokiri, that's where I think you kind of see where it's like, well, these heroes have options, and Jormungandr just doesn't have enough options. Is it
Right.
still fun to play? Yeah, it can definitely be fun to play. It is fun to play. There are scenarios where you're not going to have as much fun as you would with certain other heroes, but I certainly do appreciate it. I appreciate where the... Go on.
I do want to say that, you know, conceptually, this is a much more interesting and fun hero to play than Hitokiri.
Yes.
I think
Yes.
Hitokiri is a very
Absolutely.
simple character, so
Yes.
you know, just going off that, I really do enjoy what they tried to do with this hero, as much as I shit on him.
Right.
It's no Hitokiri. Hitokiri is just very very one dimensional for that hero. This
It's
one,
boring.
you know, there's a lot more button prompts for this guy. You wanna do back GB, things like that. Like it's more fun to press buttons, and that's a huge step from another
Yeah.
hero.
Yes, it's more fun to press buttons. That's
Yeah.
that's very very well said.
I will say that I would much rather play Jormungandr than Hitokiri, even though
Fuck
Hitokiri
yeah.
is probably a much more effective hero. Hitokiri is so boring to play.
Bro,
Yeah, it
fuck
is.
Hitokiri.
Yeah.
I'm with
Fuck
you,
that
man.
character.
So boring. Oh.
I'm sorry, guys. Like you're right. The Hitokiri is absolutely I tried her. I did. You know what? I'm actually glad you guys said that. You want to know why? Jormungandr. To me, my initial thoughts and my final thoughts on this segment is going to be this. Comparing Jormungandr to Hitokiri. Hitokiri to Jormungandr. Hitokiri may be more effective. Yes. But here's the thing. Jormungandr is much more fun to play.
Yes.
And that is the most important thing for me. Not just effectiveness, but fun. It is fun. It feels good. It feels good to get those punishes. It feels good to land some of those attacks, even if it's not those, the punches.
Yes.
The kit is a hell of a lot more fun than Hitokiri, even though it's in some ways it's a little more simple. It's in the most basic sense, Hitokiri's is definitely more simple, but there are more options with Hitokiri. But Jormungandr is so much better in so many ways as far as the fun factor goes. I mean, the animations, the options in terms of like the out of stamina punishes, and like this hitting them with the hammer, you want people to land that unblockable. You want people to get that wall splash. You want people to get that out of stamina knockdown on that.
Yes.
You want people to get that, right? So I
Yes.
think that's what we're all on the same page on. You want those things to happen. I think the dev team wants those things to happen. We just got to have those options, and we've come up with a lot of potential solutions. We came up with a lot of things to potentially be looked at and see where we want to go with it, because Jormungandr is not going anywhere, and I'm not going anywhere with Jormungandr. You know what I mean? Now, let me clarify what I mean when I say that. This season is the hammer season, the Hamar. I am playing Jormungandr. It's hammer time.
Yeah.
All right.
Also, I would just add on to that, like you said, Norgoz, there is almost nothing more satisfying in the game right now than to hit someone with the unblockable heavy when they're out of stamina and
It
watch
feels
them
so
go
good.
flying through
It
there,
looks
dude.
so funny.
It
It
does.
is so hilarious, and especially
Bonk.
a Shigoki. It is the best to smack a Shigoki and watch big man go flying through the air. That is incredibly enjoyable to watch. Also, we were talking about the feats a little bit. The tier 3 feat, dude, smacking someone with the hammer like Thor and watching a wall splat. Oh, dude, it is deeply satisfying to watch.
And the sound, clink.
The
Yes,
sound. Oh,
they
that is the one
nailed
thing
it.
I will
They
say.
nailed the sounds. Yes,
They
yes.
killed it with like even just the light attack, the bong. Like, oh man, it's music to my ears. They nailed the sound. Like you were saying, the effects and the sound. The kit needs a little bit of work, but the aesthetic of the hero itself, that did live up to the expectation in my mind.
So we have a lovely community. I just wanted to take a moment and remind you guys that I love your faces. You're all incredible people. Thank you so much for coming in tonight and being here. We've talked about a lot of things. We've talked about becoming unbreakable, unlocked attacks, GG no re, talking about best 2 out of 3 and how to encourage more 2 out of 3 gameplay. Becoming unbreakable is about how to be armored against toxicity. Jormungandr, we talked a lot about that hero. In some ways it's underwhelming, but there are so many things they got right. There really are. I don't want to take away a lot of things from the dev team, and because I don't want to take too much away from them, because they did so many things right. The sounds, the animations, the overall concept, it's so good. It's so good. It's like one of those things. It's like I said yesterday, I want to love this hero so bad. And in some ways I definitely do. But there's some things that I want to see tweaked a little bit, and then I'll probably never ever play a hero other than Jormungandr ever again. And once those tweaks are in there, you will never see me pick up anything other than a hammer. You won't see me pick up an axe. You won't see me pick up a shield. You won't see me pick up anything except an axe. Or I'm sorry, a hammer. A hammer axe. But yes, for those of you that are watching us live, you know what to do. Whenever we have certain things happen, we throw up the shield wall, don't we? That's right. Okay, that's the one thing I'll do that the live show will get that you guys watching or listening at home around the world won't get. And that's the live content interaction. You guys know what to do right now. There you go. You guys are awesome. I love your faces. Okay, so we are about 3 hours in. I'm going to reintroduce the cast. And we're gonna decide where we want to go from here, because there's a lot more things that we could discuss at this point in regards to the new patch, the new reworks, and whatnot. I love what's happening in the chat right now. You guys are fantastic. I love your faces. The shield wall emote is amazing. You guys are incredible people. Thank you. I'm your host, Norgoz. This is the Warcry podcast. If you're just now joining us, if you've never seen this before, we do this every Friday night at 7 p.m. Pacific. I definitely invite you all to stay, hang out with us, come back and see us again, because this is a podcast that we do that's for the community. It is meaningful discussion regarding community-driven topics. We have great guests every week. I make sure of that. And this week, I am joined by none other than the most enlightened of Shigokis, TopRamanShaman himself. We have K-Roller's Rex, one of the sexiest voices in the directory. He's seriously, you have like a casting voice, Rex.
He really does.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate that. I grew up, and there was like a definite age, like around 13, 14. My voice dropped like a ton of rocks. And my dad always said, son, you've got a great voice for radio, and you've got a great face to match.
There it is, a great voice for radio. That's when somebody says that you have a voice for radio, there is no way to bullshit that. When somebody says it, 100% of the 200% of the time, they mean that 100% of the time. Okay, so you definitely have a voice for radio. You actually sound like a talk show host that I won't say out loud live. But
Bro, I think I know who you're talking about. I swear, I think I know who you're talking about.
Is his initials J and P? No.
Wait. No. Okay, never mind.
Okay,
Never
we aren't
mind.
on the same
Get
page.
lost.
Disregard, bail.
We're
bail.
off. We're off. Okay. I thought we had a moment. I was like, you know what? I'll throw it out there. I'm gonna take a stab in the dark. We go find out.
Psych.
Sexy Rexy right here. All right, we got Fatal-Feit. He's an awesome individual, competitive player, very highly knowledgeable. His knowledge is only, damn it, by the end of the show, I swore I was gonna get this right. His knowledge is only bested by how great his hair looks.
And his sandwich skills. We can't forget about that.
Oh, his sandwich skills.
sandwich.
Yes. Yes.
Those non-toxic sandwiches.
Anti-toxic, yeah.
The anti-toxic sandwiches, dude. Okay, I'm writing it down right now. All right, everybody in chat, remind me. Let me get some spam here for anti-toxic sandwich. All right, my emote artist just messaged me today and said, "Hey, are you ready for the new emotes right now?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm ready. Go whenever you're ready to go ahead and make some emotes. Let me know. I got some ideas. I'm gonna write down sandwich, fatal.
Anti-toxic.
We're gonna have to get you a sandwich emote. In the meantime, I may or may not make one, and I may or may not give it to you later. That being said, sandwich emote is written down. You guys are awesome. Okay, we've got a lot of good discussions. So there's a lot more that we could talk about. I have us slated for a 3-hour show. It's a perfect time for us to actually end the show right now if we would like to. I would like to invite our guests to stick around, and I'll tell you what we would be talking about. You let me know if you guys are good for this or not. I'm actually being lazy right now. I normally would type this in Discord and get feedback, but I'm being lazy right now. So this is behind the scenes, fuck it, we're do it live kind of shit. So, all right, so we would be talking about the new patch, some of the changes, mainly, probably one of the most popular, or not popular, one of the most well-known, I guess, or well-documented, discussed Nobushi changes. She no longer has guard break, she no longer, or guard break, hidden stance is now guard break vulnerable, thank you. The hidden stance now hides 100 milliseconds of her lights, so she effectively has 400 millisecond indicator lights. She has bleed stacks now, and I think they removed heavy, the kick guaranteed after heavy, but in my experience, it's still very close. So I don't know how much they actually changed it, but it's still very close, it seems like. And then her attacks are very, 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 very fast. So I want to also throw up the salutes to all of the warriors that are joining us right here. And of course, you guys, we've got Nobu, Shinobi had removed hyper armor. Shinobi basically takes a backflip, right? And basically stays in place. Literally, basically stays in place. There's no longer any... it's not guard break vulnerable from what I'm told. However, it is something that it's practically pointless because you don't go anywhere. A lot of Shinobi mains are kind of upset about that. There wasn't really much of a trade-off for Shinobi's nerf. So things like that. That's kind of what we're talking about. Sorry, I kind of got off on a little bit of rant. I'm gonna go ask you guys individually, yes or no. You guys good for going for like another? I'll say a stretch. We'll say 45 minutes. TopRamanShaman, you good for that?
I'm down for it, baby. You already know.
Fatal.
Unfortunately, I don't think I have more time than what we do have now.
No worries. Just for reference, Rex.
Yeah, I'm probably in the same boat as Fatal. Unfortunately, I do apologize.
No worries. Okay. All right. So then I have one final question that I must ask. TopRamanShaman and Fatal have answered this question before. Whenever I have a guest on the podcast, I always ask this one final undocumented question, and it is, and I ask it, and I do this as a point of purpose. I don't write it down. I don't give anybody a heads up. Anybody who's watched the show already knows what I'm about to ask. The question is, and it's directed to K. Rulus Rex, the real K. Rulus Rex.
Oh.
How has For Honor changed your life?
How has For Honor changed my life? I mean,
I know it's a big one. I know it's a lot to take in.
That's the big thonk right there, man. That
Yes.
is that's open ended.
Got to use your big brain on that one.
Yeah, I got to use my 200 IQ. So when it comes to For Honor, I mean, it's a game that gave me kind of this sounds like so, I don't know, this sounds just so open and just so blatant, but this is really what it is. It's a game that gave me exactly what I was looking for in a game. And most of the people that I play For Honor with have, or at least I started playing For Honor with, have moved on. But it gave me a community of people who were passionate, and that's why I've come to love the Twitch community so much and spend so much time hanging out with all of you guys, is because they're people who love the game. They're striving to get better, and I like the game because it has a high ceiling for skill, of which I'm nowhere even close to the top. But there's a lot of room for improvement. This challenge, so it's changed my life in the way where it's introduced me to a lot of fantastic people. Not the least of which would be people like Fatal-Feit, TopRamanShaman, and Norgoz, who are just fantastic entertainers and great content creators. And it's introduced me to people that I can spend time with, and we can hang out and we can play the game. Like, I don't know, it's just it's in life, which is full of stress and change and just a lot of stuff that goes on all at once. Maybe you guys know this or not, but I work a full-time job. I go to grad school on the side. I've got a wife. I've got 2 kids. I'm a homeowner, so life can be pretty stressful. It can be pretty hectic. For Honor and the community, which I think is fantastic, by the way, that is here, it gives me a little bit of an escape, and it helps bring me back down to reality when the stresses of life start wearing on me. So it's given me that escape. It's given me those friendships. It's given me those relationships. And it's given a lot to me. So yeah, that's if I could narrow it down into one paragraph, that would be the paragraph. So
That is very, very deep, my friend, and I appreciate you being very open about that and sharing it with you. I mean, so you've got a lot on your plate. Um, I can respect the hell out of you for that. I mean, you've got a great personality as a content creator.
thank you.
And I've said this before, and I will say it again live on the podcast. It's going to be live here on Twitch. It's going to be on YouTube next
Oh,
week.
gosh.
If you're watching it now on YouTube, you are missing a week of the podcast, and that's why I do it intentionally, to let you know if you want the live show, you want the best way to view everything, come and watch the VOD on Twitch. Come and see it live on Twitch. YouTube is probably going to ban me for doing that because they don't like people moving over there. I'm just giving you guys the option. I'm not saying, completely leave my YouTube channel. But if you want the live experience, that's where it's going to be. So you've gotten really deep with it, and I've said this before, and I'll say it again. K. Rulus Rex has a great attitude. He's got a fantastic talking voice. He's got some skills in the game, and he makes things fun and entertaining. And he's an up and coming content creator on Twitch. He's definitely somebody that you want to take a look at. He's brand new to the Twitch community in terms of content creation, but he's not new to us as a player or as a member of the Twitch community. He's been here for a very, very long time. Very awesome individual. Once he started streaming, and this goes back to name recognition. I want to try and keep this short. Name recognition is something that's really important for a content creator. If you hang out in a whole bunch of chats, you make yourself known, you just start talking. That's something that people pay attention to. And once you start streaming, if you're just stream, don't go on people's channel, start talking about your stream, whatever. No, don't do that. You just from being in there chatting. If somebody sees you streaming, they're like, "Oh shit, I didn't know he streamed." You go in there, and that's what I did. I went in there, I saw his stream, and I'm like, "Dude, you actually got some skills. You got some skills. You're entertaining. You got a great voice, and everybody's gonna have to get that headset that you've got. It's like a miracle of nature. It really is. It's ridiculous.
Best
It's
headset.
insane. So."
Yeah, shopping.
It really is. It's crazy. It's insane that you
Why do I
have.
even
It's
try?
good.
Anyway, so and what I'm talking about, guys, is his mic quality. His mic quality is to me, it's insane to because on his stream he doesn't do a cam. He focuses more on the gameplay, right? So
That's true. Yep.
and I think that's cool. Lord Dim does that too. There's a lot of players do that. Inmu does that from time to time. Um, anyway, so definitely, when can we? So I want to get you guys. Where can we see you guys? Like, where can we find you, Rex? Where, when are you live? Where can we find you? When you're live streaming.
Sure, absolutely. So, due to having a full-time job and due to wanting to make sure that I don't, abandon the responsibilities of spending time with my wife and spending time with my children, especially while they're young, you're going to find me live late. I am in the central time zone in the US. I try to stream about 3 to 4 times a week. It just kind of depends on the day. And I usually get going around 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. Central, and I usually try to keep it going until about 1 a.m. because I'm a night owl. I'm up that time anyway, and I'd love to see you guys and have you come hang out with me. Get some games in. It'd be fun.
And it is definitely a good time. He's a very positive individual. He is entertaining. He will keep you going all night long. Trust me.
Hey man, I
Stop
got
it.
that Coors Light. Let's go.
You got that Coors Light, man. He'll give you a damned old time. I tell you what,
Banquet
son.
beer.
The banquet beer. Top Ramen Shaman, where can we find you, my friend? Like, you were the most elevated to Shigoki's, really, really positive individual. Where and when can we find you on Twitch? I think you might be on a little bit of a hiatus right now to reset and everything. But when can we find you again? And when would you stream?
So you're right. I have been on a little hiatus, little break, but
We all need it.
yeah, we do. That is true. I wasn't gonna say anything because I wasn't sure, but probably gonna be breaking hiatus tomorrow. So we'll be back on the streams. So you can find me obviously twitch.tv TopRamanShaman. I'm going to be streaming a little earlier than I used to. I don't really have the times quite worked out yet, so be patient with me on that one. I appreciate you guys. But yeah, that's about it. I'll be here. It'll be like old times, baby. 14-hour streams, super long, going hard in the paint.
All right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna post these in description. I'm gonna post these in chat and where you can find it. Now that's Top Ramen Shaman with an A, by the way, TopRaman.
Very important.
That's actually very, very, very important. It's not ramen. Although he's got the ramen bowl. If you look up ramen, his name may not mean exactly what you think it means. It may mean something a little more elevated. It may mean something a little bit different and a little bit more cool than ramen. Although ramen's actually pretty cool. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's cheap. It keeps you going. Make sure you guys click on those links in Twitch. Follow those guys. You're not gonna regret it. And I'm gonna put Fatals. I'm gonna put Fatals in here too. Even if you don't stream, that's cool. I want you guys to click. I want you guys to, if you want to see Fatal stream, just click on that button and click follow. Right there you go. So thank you very much, and of course, guys, make sure you follow up with Fatal. Fatal, we can find you on we can find your content on YouTube. Is that correct?
YouTube, and if you want to see what's going on in my life and what I might be up to, you can always follow me on Twitter.
There you go, and he's active on Twitter.
Kind of, yep.
So there's a lot of stuff going on this weekend. We have upcoming tournaments as well, going not this weekend yet, but around, what is it, the middle of August.
Apologize for that.
Oh, I must have missed something. You're good. Around the middle of August, we're gonna have we've got some tournaments coming up. So a reminder: For Honor Arena and For Honor Console are hosting the first tournaments respective on PC and console respectively that are going to be with spectator mode and are going to have a sponsorship from Ubisoft, from the For Honor development team, of a prize pool of 1.5 million steel. Wow. That's right. You heard me right. 1.5 million steel, guys. If you want to get good, you got about 2 weeks to really get good and dig in. If you want to do it just to have fun, effectively it's free. All you got to do is earn it. All you have to do is earn it. You have to claim the trophy, get the W, and it's going to be all gravy, baby. All right, 1.5 million steel, and of course that's split amongst 4 players, I believe. I think they're all 4-on-4 dominions. I could be wrong about that, but split amongst 4 players is like 375, roughly, more or less, something like that. That's enough. 375,000. That is. That's a lot. That's enough to get most of the stuff that you probably want to get right now. You know what I'm saying? Because most stuff, what the most that most stuff is like what 15,000. Some stuff is 20,000, but those are like the full-on outfits that aren't on sale. You know what I'm saying? So that's a lot of stuff, guys. It's a lot of stuff, guys, and that shows a lot of interest and it shows a lot of interest in the word I'm looking for is investment and initiative towards supporting the competitive scene, which is something that helps For Honor thrive and get out in the forefront. I would love. I don't know that it would actually happen, but I would love. Raise your hand if you would love to see this. I would love to see For Honor at an EVO tournament. EVO is going on right now this weekend. I would love to see For Honor at EVO. I would love to see For Honor at EVO. I picked that picture of Fatal because I know his hand would naturally be up, so that's why he's got the 2 fingers up there. His hand is up. I'm right, Fatal? Like you'd be throwing your hand up. You want to see it at EVO too, right?
Yep. Always. I
swear if he said no, I was going to be so fucking disappointed in him. I swear I would have. All right, guys. I know that you all have things you got to get to. So here's what I'm going to do. Normally what we do here at the end of the show is we host somebody and we try and give back to the community. This is our 7th show, and 7 to me is a very, very important number because, and I don't have my Final Fantasy VII shirt on right now, but I'm a huge fan of Final Fantasy, huge fan of Final Fantasy VII. That was arguably my favorite Final Fantasy of all time, and I was thinking to myself, well, what if I just continued and just went on and did my own thing and streamed after the podcast? I've never hosted myself after the podcast, so we normally want to give back to the community. And as I understand it, Ramen and Rex, you guys are not gonna. Rex, you got a thing to do. Ramen, you're streaming tomorrow, so normally I would host one of our guests, but I want to give back to the community. That's what I'm going to be doing. And again, guys, thank you so much for being here. Really do appreciate it. I'm going to roll an outro here for like a minute, and then I will type everything in chat, let you guys know who we're going to be hosting, and we will see you guys next week. Maybe myself, maybe I will do a stream over the weekend. Maybe not. I normally stream Tuesday through Friday, starting at 7 p.m. Pacific. We go for about 3 hours. So thank you guys so much for being here. Really appreciate you. Thank you to the For Honor development team for everything that you do. Thank you to everybody on the For Honor development team. Everybody on the development team. That's game mechanics, community developers, everybody. You guys are awesome. Thank you for everything that you do. Bringing us this game that we have such a passion for. Bringing us our beloved community. Because without this game, we wouldn't have this community. We wouldn't. Yep. So you guys are the center of that, and I have to thank you first and foremost for that. Thank you all for the community. Every time I ask somebody, how has For Honor changed your life, one word comes to mind, and it's the word community. It's the word community. So thank you guys so much for being awesome and for the continued support of this podcast. This podcast would not be here without you guys. RSS content creators would not be here without you guys. Would not be in the positions that we are without you guys. So thank you so very much. The big smooch from... for some reason, I was thinking Smoochy Wallace from that skit, TopRamanShaman. Thank you guys so much. Have yourselves a great night. Thank you to my guests, Ramen, Fatal, Rex. You guys are amazing.
Thank you very much.
For having me again.
Thank you. Thanks for having us, Norgoz.
Next week, I'm going to throw this. I'm going to say what our next topic is, and I will cut us out for the evening. But next week, guys, I try and keep these try and plan these ahead in advance. And of course, these are truly community-driven topics. Some of the things that I've seen is that we're going to talk about controller versus keyboard and mouse. We're going to talk about the input speed, the speed of reactions and whatnot. We're going to have an in-depth conversation about that. We're also going to be talking about some other topics that I will announce at another time. But you guys are amazing. I will see you guys again. Have yourselves a great night, lads and lasses, you crazy motherfuckers. I love all of your faces. Have a great one. Good night. Don't go anywhere, guys. We're going to be hosting someone from the For Honor directory here in just a moment. Sit tight. We're going to host Mr. Toxic TV. I'm going to give the Twitch link in the description right here. Have yourselves a great night, guys. Go in and say hi. Thank you very much.